Chapter 8:19. Although he failed to ask who the middle-aged man was, Han Fei didn't panic at all at this moment. Since he asked me to find the map, it's only natural for me to charge some interest. Who wouldn't want free benefits? Wouldn't it be stupid to refuse? Besides, it was divination. Although his strength was too weak, seeking fortune and avoiding calamity could still be considered as a type of divination. When he became stronger in the future, what if seeking fortune and avoiding calamity became a high-level skill like calculating the secrets of the heavens? Han Fei was relieved. Not only should he learn it, but he also had to learn it well. Han Fei asked, "Senior, how do we start?" "How?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Don't worry. It's time for dinner. Go cook." Han Fei. How could Han Fei be in the mood to cook now? This time, he made a hot pot. He threw the big pot of food into it, not in the mood to cook. The middle-aged man shook his head slightly. He didn't mind it, as long as it was more delicious than what he had eaten before. At the dinner table, the two of them were eating a level 65 heavenly spirit ray in front of the hot pot. After only eating half a kilogram of meat, Han Fei's nose was bleeding and his head was in a mess. In a daze, Han Fei heard someone say in his ear, "The so-called divination is actually a method of perceiving fate with the help of the heavenly Tao. This method is actually very simple. You only need to remember one of the heavenly Tao techniques." Han Fei couldn't remember what was said after that. He slept like a dead pig. When Han Fei suddenly woke up, he looked around in shock. The food on the table was gone again, and he didn't know how long he had been lying on the ground. Han Fei looked around and found that the middle-aged man was fishing on a bluestone platform not far away. Han Fei rubbed his head. "Senior, how long have I slept again?" The middle-aged man said lightly, "Well, I cooked for myself yesterday." Han Fei was speechless. "I've slept for 2 days?" The middle-aged man said with a smile, "You've learned the heavenly Tao techniques. I have nothing to teach you. You can go out in a few days." "Huh!" Han Fei was dumbfounded. "Wait, Senior, how did I learn it? Just a nap?" The middle-aged man said softly, "Keep your voice down. You're scaring the fish away." Han Fei. The middle-aged man said, "You calculate when can you get out?" Han Fei subconsciously counted his fingers, and a vague feeling suddenly popped up in his head. 3 days later? Han Fei stared at his fingers. When did I learn to pinch my fingers? Han Fei quickly closed his eyes, and a message popped up. Heavenly Kismet Spell, Unranked, Introduction. Borrowing the power of the heavenly Tao to predict the fate of the heavens, and to test the impermanence of all things. There were only these 2 simple sentences. There were no words or algorithms. In any case, it was just something in his mind. Han Fei swallowed and felt that the middle-aged man in front of him was even more mysterious. In his dream, he managed to learn such a miraculous technique. Han Fei sighed with mixed feelings. Suddenly, Han Fei's heart thumped and he calculated with his fingers. Then he remembered the prison token and immediately took it out. "Senior, do you know the hexagon starfish?" The middle-aged man glanced at the prison token and said with a smile, "You're quite smart." I think I threw it." Han Fei narrowed his eyes. The hexagon starfish was sealed in the heavenly water village by Ren Tianfei for 300 years. "You threw it? How did you throw it?" Han Fei asked again, "Senior, do you know Ren Tianfei?" The middle-aged man looked at the water. "Sort of." Han Fei took a breath. "Then, did you live in the heavenly water village before?" The middle-aged man glanced at Han Fei casually. "Don't talk, don't ask. Hold it back." "Why?" The middle-aged man shook his head slightly. "I told you, it's easy to change your fate. Let everything go with the flow. You'll know it when it's time for you to know it." Han Fei's face immediately darkened and he asked tentatively, "Then what can I say? Can I talk about Tangge?" The middle-aged man shook his head. "No." Han Fei was lost for words. "What about the Thug Academy? For example, Can we talk about the details of the decline of the Thug Academy more than 30 years ago? The middle-aged man shook his head. No. Han Fei gnashed his teeth. Can I talk about my mother? The middle-aged man continued to shake his head. No. Han Fei said angrily, Aren't you dead? The middle-aged man chuckled. Sometimes it's quite difficult to die. Han Fei was not a fool. He just didn't expect to see his father in this place and in this way. After learning fortune-telling, Han Fei immediately thought of the prison token. As he thought about it, the answer was obvious. Why couldn't he be a senior of the Thug Academy? Look at Old Bai, Old Jiang, and Uncle Faceless. Would they teach him like this? And the Heavenly Water Village and Ren Tianfei? Plus the way he talked and the tone he used these days. He felt that he had been educated. No matter how stupid he was, he had guessed it. But Han Fei wasn't sure if this was Han Guanshu. Or was he simply his father? Han Fei asked, Have you ever been a marshal? The middle-aged man chuckled. Don't ask, don't investigate, and tell Tang Gun not to investigate either. Sure enough, this man was Han Guanshu. He was his father after all. Han Fei said angrily, Nothing. Do you want me to fish with you? Han Guanshu nodded. Okay. Han Fei was speechless. Grumbling, he pulled a stone stool and sat down by the river. After sitting down, Han Fei suddenly said, Can't you tell me about the vine leaf in the demonic forest channel? The middle-aged man shook his head slightly. That's the only thing that even I don't know. Han Fei. As soon as Han Fei took out the fishing rod, he was taken aback. Without even perceiving, he said helplessly, No, there are no fish in this river. Crash. As soon as Han Fei said that, he saw a big, flashing fish of 30 meters was caught out of the water by Han Guanshu. Shoot! Han Fei was dumbfounded. His perception probed the river again, only to find that the depth of the river was not as high as this fish. How could there be such a big fish? In his eyes, information emerged. Name Starlight Fish. Introduction: a fish that grows by absorbing the power of stars. It floats and sinks like twinkling starlight. It can cover a distance of 3,000 kilometers in a flash and is extremely difficult to catch. When it is attacked, it can use the star sword once. Level 63 quality, exotic, mutated, contains spiritual energy greater than 47,508 points. Effect: long-term consumption can improve the ability to comprehend space. Collectible star bead absorbable Gudu. Han Fei was lost for words. What kind of amazing skill is this? Han Guanshu said casually, A fishing skill. Han Fei blinked. That's too much. Just because your level is high you think you're great? You're just showing off your fishing skills. Han Fei hurried to read the divine manipulation technique on the 5th level of void fishing. However, after reading it, he found that it was not a magical fishing skill. The divine manipulation technique required a type of fishing line called the void line. Han Fei didn't have time to study it before. But when he read it, he looked weird. Looking at the guy next door, Han Fei sat cross-legged and read it carefully. The reason why the so-called void lines required fish tendons or dragon tendons with extremely high dragon bloodlines was that there were certain conditions and restrictions. Only when this basic requirement was met could the void lines be refined. The so-called refining was actually to refine a magical vein with the soul, which was hidden in the soul and even connected to the soul. Now that he had refined this mystical meridian, it would belong to him. As for its use, it was awesome. Like a marionette, it could control creatures invisibly, making it impossible for them to escape. The more advanced the void lines were, the less likely it was to be discovered. Otherwise, once the creatures that were caught found something wrong with them, they would be very likely to break free. Also, the void lines required a lot of soul power and spiritual power. Of course, if he refined multiple void lines, he should be able to slightly solve this problem. The void lines could also control living beings like Puppet. Also, the void lines could be split, but they needed to be split according to his soul power. Han Fei didn't know how many he could split. In addition to fishing with the void lines, it also had the ability to fight. However, in terms of combat ability, he needed the help of a fishhook. Once he used a fishhook, he would be easily discovered. No wonder it's called the divine manipulation technique. Amazing, amazing, who the F***ck can defend against this? Han Fei glanced aside. What should I call you? I can't call you senior, can I? Han Guanshu chuckled. Do you have to? Han Fei chuckled. It's fine if you don't. I've lived a hard life since I was a kid. You should at least give me something. Han Guanshu looked at Han Fei. What do you want? Han Fei said straightforwardly, flood dragon tendons, and a few more. Han Guanshu was stunned for a moment. Why do you want so many? Han Fei grinned. Of course I want them. Han Guanshu chuckled. Okay. Han Fei added. Also, I want the 6th level and above of the true spirit fishing art. Han Guanshu frowned. Are you still practicing the true spirit fishing art? Han Fei took a long breath of relief upon hearing this. Everything that happened before made Han Fei feel that he had been set up. This question made him realize that it was not. Han Fei nodded. Yes, only this technique suits me. Han Guanshu pondered for a moment. I don't have it. However, I can find a way to give it to you. Han Fei's eyes immediately lit up. All of them? Han Guanshu sneered. The 6th level. As for the 7th level, only one family in the entire 1,000-star city has it. However, I've beaten that family before, so they probably won't give it to me. Han Fei was speechless. What the hell? Does it mean that the true spirit fishing art really stopped at the 6th level? That's it? Han Fei took a breath. Which family? The Zhang family. Han Fei was stunned for a moment. The Zhang family that knows the heavenly pearl body protecting technique? Yes. Han Fei was immediately worried. Then I'm doomed. I've beaten them too. Han Guanshu glanced at Han Fei and was speechless. However, it made sense. The Thug Academy and the 1,000-star city had always been at odds. It was normal that they had beaten them, but it would be abnormal if they hadn't. After a pause, Han Guanshu suddenly said, however, it's not impossible to get it. Han Fei shivered. What do you mean? Han Guanshu said leisurely, you can exchange the sea-quelling painting for it. The 3rd chapter. Asking for votes. It will break out in a few days, the specific day to be decided. Also, are the chapters yesterday and today fake? How is that possible? I just don't have the exciting scenes. In fact, these chapters are very important. They carry many secrets of the first part of the story, and then the logical framework of the subsequent plot. How can they be fake? When I wrote it, I also thought about it repeatedly. Don't panic. The story needs to be laid out slowly. It's meaningless to purely pursue the improvement of strength. For example, when should I find Xia Shaochan? Han Fei still had a lot of things to do. Anyway, I can't go for a while. Okay, I'll have a very exciting scene tomorrow. End of this chapter. Chapter 820. Hearing Han Guanshu's words, Han Fei didn't know what to say. What if I can really get the sea-quelling painting? Can I exchange a sea-quelling bizarre treasure for a level of a cultivation technique? Han Fei pondered. Can't I destroy it? Han Guanshu glanced at his son. You're a bit cruel. You're going to destroy the Zhang family of the 1,000-star city just for a level of the true spirit fishing art? 3 days passed in a flash. He drank tea, ate, slept, and fished every day. Han Fei suddenly had a premonition and pinched his fingers. He should be out soon. Han Fei suddenly asked, Old Han, why are you locked up here? Han Guanshu smiled and said, Don't ask. Han Fei. As soon as Han Fei said this, he suddenly thought of something and immediately turned his head to the open space where he came in, only to find that a cold-looking middle-aged man had been standing there since he did not know when he had arrived. Han Fei had never seen this person before, but he saw the 12-star waist tag on his waist. Shueishenqi? The highest star rank on the Scattered Stars Island was 12 stars. As far as Han Fei knew, there was only one strong man of this level, and that was Shueishenqi. He looked at Shueishenqi and then at old Han, who was fishing solemnly without looking back. Immediately, Han Fei had a strange feeling. What was the relationship between Shueishenqi and old Han? You can go out now. Shueishenqi's voice was relatively heavy. Maybe because he had been in a high position for a long time, his voice was naturally intimidating. Han Guanshu glanced at Han Fei with a smile. Go out. The barrier is open. Han Fei took a deep look at old Han, got up and walked straight out. When he passed by Shueishenqi, he found that he was looking at him expressionlessly as if he had just met a passerby on the roadside. When he reached the exit of the barrier, Han Fei said lazily, "Let's go." Okay. Han Guanshu grunted softly and Han Fei's figure disappeared from the 4th level of the Scattered Stars prison. At the top of the stairs, Zhang Ting stared at Han Fei as if he wanted to see through him. He didn't understand. It had only been less than a month, and the general came to release him in person. Was Han Fei really that powerful? However, this matter was no longer within his control. Zhang Ting handed Han Fei a waist tag with only 6 stars on it. Han Fei took it and turned it over, only to see 5 million credit points on it. Other than that, there was no other information. Han Fei frowned. That's all? Zhang Ting snorted. It's a decision made by the marshal himself. What are you dissatisfied with? Furthermore, you weren't a 5-star when you left. The punishment and reward basically offset each other. Don't even think about the title of Guardian of the Sea. Han Fei smiled casually. Okay. I accept. Zhang Ting snorted and continued, from today on, you no longer have the right to hold any position on the Scattered Stars Island, which means that you will not have a team in the future. Also, your base will be moved to the Empyrean Waterfall. They already know about it, so you can go there directly. Han Fei couldn't be happier about not taking up a position. He hadn't really thought about moving to the Empyrean Waterfall. Han Fei and Zhang Ting slowly walked out, and after a long time, he asked, "Can I go to sea?" Zhang Ting said expressionlessly, "You are now a 6-star slaughterer, so of course you can go to sea alone. But let me remind you, don't be trapped in the Empyrean Waterfall like Wang Dashui. That's all I have to say. Take care of yourself." Han Fei curled his lip. "Senior brother Dashui, what did you do before?" Tisk. I'll ask him when I go to the Empyrean Waterfall." Outside the Scattered Stars prison, Han Fei looked up at the sky and sighed. A secret realm is just a secret realm. No matter how elegant it is, it's not as good as outside. Hanging up the waist tag, Han Fei left the courtyard of the Scattered Stars prison without looking back. Even though he knew that someone was staring at him from behind, he didn't seem to feel it. Han Fei didn't control the fishing boat but took a leisurely walk. He was thinking. What was the problem between Shueishenqi and Old Han? What was the relationship between Old Han and the Thug Academy? Did he need an opportunity to snatch the sea-quelling painting? After all, he hadn't found the boneyard yet. Should he go to Luo Xiaobai and the others, or the Empyrean Waterfall, or the Twisted Jungle? As he walked, a fishing boat suddenly landed from the sky, and Luo Xiaobai was on it. "Come on up." Han Fei jumped onto the fishing boat and smiled. "Why are you here?" Luo Xiaobai said calmly. "I've been paying attention to this place since you were imprisoned in the Scattered Stars prison. So, the moment you came out, I knew." After a moment, in a certain club on the Scattered Stars Island, Luo Xiaobai, Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Renquang, and Han Fei sat in a private room. Zhang Xuanyu was the first to speak. "Han Fei, what's on the 4th level of the Scattered Stars prison? They didn't do anything to you, did they? Were you arranged to go to the Empyrean Waterfall?" Han Fei said with a smile, "The 4th level is nothing. Do I look like I'm in trouble?" Lu Renquang added, But the Empyrean waterfall. Senior brother Dashwai is trapped in the Empyrean waterfall and can't even go to sea. Han Fei said with a smile, I can. Luo Xiaobai said coldly, Han Fei, the Empyrean waterfall is not a place you can enter casually. There are mysteries hidden under the waterfall. Remembering the story under the pool of the Empyrean waterfall, Han Fei said slowly, I'm not going to explore the bottom. I'm waiting to go to sea. Luo Xiaobai and the others slowly took a breath of relief and then stared at Han Fei. Han Fei touched his nose and couldn't help but chuckle. What? Is there something on my face? Zhang Xuanyu said, Speak. Don't keep us guessing. It's time to say what you want to say. Han Fei pinched his fingers. He didn't feel that he was being eavesdropped. Then, spiritual energy gathered on his fingertips, and lines appeared one after another. A total of 11 lines outlined a pattern. Then, everyone was shocked to find that all the sounds in the outside world had been blocked. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, What's this? Is this an array? Lu Renquang said with mixed feelings, Can this prevent the eavesdropping of the experts? Luo Xiaobai was also quite curious and looked straight at Han Fei. Han Fei explained, I've used 11 arrays. The hidden fishers can't hear us. Then, Han Fei secretly pinched his fingers and paid attention to his premonitions. He would stop talking the moment he sensed something wrong. Even so, Han Fei still spoke telepathically. He believed that it was necessary. After all, if there were experts like Old Han on the Scattered Stars Island, he wouldn't be able to guard against them. Han Fei said slowly, Xia Xiaochan was taken back by her family. As for why I went to the 10,000 Demon Valley? It's actually a very simple story. Han Fei told them the story. However, he neglected the reason why the Sea Demon Mountain was moved away, and he didn't tell them about Chun Huangdian or that someone was searching for him through divination. Apart from that, he didn't hide how he entered the 10,000 Demon Valley, how he broke into the 72-floor demon realm, how he stole someone's refining shop, and how he followed them into the demon forest. A moment later, Zhang Xuanyu and the others stared at Han Fei and swallowed with their mouths open. Zhang Xuanyu was lost for words. You jerk, you're truly a lunatic. How did you sneak into the 10,000 Demon Valley? Those sea demons must have been infuriated. Lu Renquang asked, Is Xia Xiaochan's family strong? Han Fei rolled his eyes. Zhang Xuanyu patted Lu Renquang. Are you an idiot? Why are you asking me that? Han Fei didn't talk about Xia Xiaochan. Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu already understood something. Only Lu Renquang kept asking. Han Fei tapped the table with his finger and suddenly became solemn. There are some things that I can't tell you. But in the following days, you must improve your strength quickly no matter what you do. If my guess is correct, something big is going to happen. The three of them asked in surprise, What big thing? Han Fei said calmly, It may be related to a sea-quelling bizarre treasure. Hiss. The three of them gasped at the same time. Even Luo Xiaobai was shocked. What was a sea-quelling bizarre treasure? Of course they knew. It was a treasure that was much more powerful than a divine weapon. It was extremely rare even in the 1,000-star city. How could they not be surprised when Han Fei mentioned it so casually? Han Fei smiled and waved his hand. Fatty, where's the food? Let's cook. Lu Renquang chuckled and immediately took out a big pot. During the meal, Han Fei asked, Xiaobai has 6 stars. Why do you two still have 5 stars? Zhang Xuanyu rolled his eyes. Do you think it's so easy to get stars? I don't have as much freedom as I do overseas. But I will soon. Luo Xiaobai said lightly, Han Fei, I will spend more time in the central city now. However, I have plenty of time. If you need to go to sea, you can come to me. By the way, if you have time, you can go to the Sea of Pearls to have a look. Luo Xiaobai said calmly, there was an anomaly in the Sea of Pearls. However, it soon subsided. It is suspected that there are ancient ruins on the island. Han Fei nodded with a smile. Got it. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 821. In the club. Following a series of angry roars, the clamor finally died down. Han Fei had a feeling that someone was coming. Luo Xiaobai was the first to react. She looked at the door. What's wrong? Bam! The door of the private room was pushed open, and a bunch of ferocious people came in and stared at Han Fei unkindly. The crowd made way for them, and a young man and a young woman appeared in front of Han Fei. Judging from his age, he didn't seem to be much older than them. Clatter! Han Fei snapped his fingers, and the soundproof array was gone. Looking at the man and the woman in silence, he said unhurriedly, "They're not friendly." Luo Xiaobai's eyes turned cold. Wu Yu and Wen Rong of the Dark Hunter Legion are known as the Twin Killers. They once hunted 8 experts in the Sea Demon realm in a row. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. They're from the Scattered Stars First Unit. Zhang Xuanyu slapped the table. Where did these B***stars come from? Don't you see that we're having dinner? Lu Renkuang's face slightly shivered and he glared at them. 2 idiots. Hunters who walk in the shadows all year round are here to fight? They were a man and a woman. The man was feminine and his eyes were full of ruthlessness, while the woman was arrogant and looked at them with narrowed eyes. The arrogant woman looked at Han Fei provocatively. I'm told that you broke into the Dark Hunter Legion and killed people in public. After spending a few days with old Han, Han Fei was even more arrogant. At this moment, he slowly leaned against the chair and crossed his legs. That's me. What do you think? Seeing Han Fei's movement, the other hunters were full of fury. Humph! Han Fei, nobody has ever despised the Dark Hunter Legion like this. Today, you'll kneel here and confess to Yang Ying. Bam! Han Fei pointed his finger in the air, and a line popped up. In the next moment, a terrifying torrent of knives enveloped the speaker like a waterfall. How dare you! A spot of starlight glittered and cut Han Fei's finger. When Rong took action, Han Fei immediately knew what her spiritual beast was. Wasn't it the starlight fish that he had just eaten? Wu Yu also took action. They turned into dozens of figures and blocked the figure of the person who spoke. The phantom seemed to freeze, and hundreds of daggers appeared in front of him, colliding with the array that Han Fei had drawn. Seeing the flickering starlight, Han Fei just sneered and hooked his finger. Another line appeared and a floating light shield appeared. Clang! The violent collision directly shattered the house into pieces. On Wu Yu's side, although he managed to resist Han Fei's attack for a while, the wall of the private room was shattered by the airwaves. Instant! A ray of cold light instantly arrived. The terrifying spear radiance pointed straight at Wen Rong. The latter's figure was pierced by the spear, leaving behind some gray smoke, while the terrifying spear light directly pierced through the entire carnival shop. The onlookers immediately knew that the club was about to fall, so they quickly left. Fortunately, they retreated in advance. Otherwise, Zhang Xuanyu's spear aura would have hit a few of them. At this moment, there was a big hole from the private room to the outside of the store, which had been blasted by Zhang Xuanyu's spear. Dozens of hunters attacked one after another, and a fat figure appeared with an orange-red glow on his body. Sky-swallowing technique. Outside, many people on the street hurriedly dispersed. When Han Fei attacked for the first time, the noise had already spread out, attracting the attention of the passers-by in the surrounding carnival shop. From the outside, everyone saw that a big black hole suddenly appeared in midair. Half of the nightclub was sucked in by the huge hole and shattered with a loud bang. Someone was surprised. Hiss! Who is this? Isn't he afraid that the law enforcement team will get into trouble? Someone was lost for words. Which lunatic is fighting here? Someone was puzzled. It must cost a lot of money to smash a carnival shop, right? Someone pointed at the ruins. Look, is that Han Fei? It's him, the lunatic Han Fei. Wait, isn't that Wen Rong from the Dark Hunter Legion? Hey, Zhang Xuanyu, the playboy? They're from the Thug Academy. When someone called out the playboy, Han Fei glanced at Zhang Xuanyu casually, and the latter said embarrassedly, "Don't listen to their nonsense. I'm a serious man." The original carnival shop had already been crushed into a pile of rubble. A vine swept out, slapping away the other hunters who had tried to attack just now. 6 of them were sucked by Lu Renquang, and their faces all changed. If Lu Renquang killed them at this moment, they wouldn't be able to survive at all. Han Fei said casually, "Fatty, throw them out." Lu Renquang snorted, and an invisible force was thrown out of the black hole, slapping them dozens of meters away. Han Fei slowly rose from his chair, and looked at Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu. "It's all because of me. You don't have to do anything." Zhang Xuanyu snorted and stabbed his spear into his body. Luo Xiaobai dropped her arm, and the vine disappeared into the ground. Han Fei finally looked at Wu Yu and Wen Rong. "You want to fight? I'll give you a chance. I'm told that you can kill a hidden fisher together. Very good. From today on, you can try to attack me at any time and under any circumstances." Wen Rong still held her head high and said proudly, "From today on? We'll settle today's business." Wu Yu replied coldly, "That's right." Han Fei chuckled. "Do you think I'm joking with you? The hunters of the Dark Hunter Legion are no different from the iron-head fish in a head-on battle. However, if you want to fight, bring it on." Luo Xiaobai slightly frowned. "You just got out." Han Fei grinned and said softly, "Don't worry. I don't think the Scattered Stars prison will let me in even if I want to." Zhang Xuanyu, on the other hand, said with a smile, "That's pretty cool. Okay, then we don't have to do anything. Hey boss, you have to ask the Dark Hunter Legion to settle the score, but they attacked first." The boss of this club was not weak. He was a hidden fisher. If he weren't, he wouldn't have been qualified to run a club here. Just now, he didn't expect that the 2 groups of people would start a fight. He should have stopped them if he had known it. Because the club had always been one of the busiest places on the Scattered Stars Island and one of the places with the most conflicts, the law enforcers were always here. At this moment, a 5-member law enforcer squad was rushing close. The captain roared, "What are you doing? Are you rebelling? All of you, stop." Before Han Fei could speak, Wen Rong had already stepped forward. "We want to challenge Han Fei. That's in line with the rules." Wen Rong and Wu Yu naturally knew that it was impossible to kill Han Fei. However, it was necessary to frustrate him. They needed to defeat Han Fei in a crowded place like the club. Only in such a way could they save the reputation of the Dark Hunter Legion and make those arrogant B***stards look down on the Dark Hunter Legion. The captain glanced at Han Fei in surprise. "Are you Han Fei?" The captain rubbed his head. At this moment, Han Fei's name had spread all over the Scattered Stars Island. Breaking into the Dark Hunter Legion wouldn't happen even once in decades. But now, it happened twice in a row, and it was Han Fei who did it. Who could tolerate it? The captain looked at Han Fei. "Do you accept the challenge?" Han Fei slightly nodded. "Yes." The captain's eyes flickered. "You can't fight here. Don't disturb other people. You can choose to fight on the river." Wen Rong turned her head and turned into a cluster of gray smoke. When she reappeared, she was already on the river not far away. Han Fei looked at Wu Yu calmly. "Come at me together. I don't have time for you to challenge me one by one. Come at me together." Wu Yu put on a ruthless expression. "Are you sure?" Without further ado, Han Fei walked to the river slowly. When he walked to the riverside, he casually broke off a branch from a small tree beside him. Many people were baffled by this scene. Zhang Xuanyu and the others, however, twitched their lips, as this guy was always like that. The fat on Lu Renquang's face shivered and he said, "I don't think they'll be able to show up again." Zhang Xuanyu put his hand on Lu Renquang's shoulder. "Lu Renquang, don't you feel that Han Fei is very aggressive this time? No wonder he was thrown to the Empyrean waterfall." At this moment, thousands of people had gathered on both sides of the river. Han Fei walked on the water step by step and dragged the branch in his hand on the water. Many people were lost for words. It was just a branch, but Han Fei dragged it into the shape of a sword. Wu Yu and Wenrong stood side by side, about 200 meters away from Han Fei. After Han Fei reached the center of the river, he tilted his head and looked at them. "Come on!" Swoosh! Wu Yu and Wenrong instantly disappeared into thin air. Han Fei, on the other hand, stood still and drew on the water with the branch in his hand. Water ripples appeared but didn't disperse. After no more than 1 second, a weird knife aura suddenly appeared 10 meters away from Han Fei. Han Fei punched with his left hand casually. The golden fist print crushed the saber radiance in an instant, and the remaining force did not diminish as it continued to crush forward. In everyone's eyes, after punching out, Han Fei's body shifted by less than 3 inches. The water under his feet was split by invisible blades. Then, thousands of knife shadows appeared around Han Fei. They charged at Han Fei like a torrent of knives and swords. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled into a smile. He was about to be swept away by the invisible blades, when an invisible barrier appeared out of nowhere. Clank, clank, clank. Han Fei was still drawing arrays unhurriedly, and his body would move occasionally. Starlight! Suddenly, Han Fei raised his head, only to find that the illusion of a full moon appeared in the sky. Traceless knife art! Dozens of meters away, Wu Yu appeared and pointed his knife at Han Fei. Starting from his feet, the river was divided as if it had been cut by a terrifying giant blade. Han Fei suddenly put his hands behind his back and smiled at them. Are they the heavenly talents of the Dark Hunter Legion? Second update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:22. The crowd on both sides of the river outside of the club had already exclaimed. Someone said in shock, "Is that the star and moon wheel?" "It's a starlight fish. That's Wenrong from the Dark Hunter Legion." Someone gasped and said in surprise, "This is a powerful attack with the power of stars. With Wenrong's strength, I'm afraid that she can even kill a beginner hidden fisher." Someone exclaimed, "Does she have to be so fierce? Isn't it said that Yang Ying set up her teammates?" Someone remarked, "Don't forget that there's still Wu Yu. His traceless knife art can attack both the body and the soul. Not only can it attack the physical body, but it can also attack the soul. This attack is probably not inferior to the Star-Moon Wheel, right?" Someone nodded in agreement. "Of course not. It's said that Wu Yu once killed a hidden fisher with this move. However, is he risking his life by using it now?" All the onlookers were shocked, except for Luo Xiaobai and the other 2 girls. Zhang Xuanyu was even smiling. He was wondering how strong Han Fei was right now. When everybody looked at Han Fei, he simply stepped on the river as calmly as if he hadn't done anything. His hands were still behind his back, and the branch was still in his hand. Voila! All of a sudden, the river behind Han Fei surged, and the huge waves were as high as 100 meters. Under the astonished gazes of countless people, an endless, piercingly cold blade intent emerged from the huge wave. When the stars and the moon fell, and the river split to 10 meters before Han Fei Hiu, Han Fei finally extended his right hand and pointed at Wu Yu and Wenrong. At that moment, the tides were like tides, and the whole river seemed to have been turned into knives that poured out as fast as Wu Yu's traceless knife art. Ho! Starlight fall. Amidst the huge waves, 2 tiny figures were stuck in the wave. They were only 1 meter in front of them, which was still within their control, and they could still block Han Fei's attack. However, they couldn't have looked more awful. The tides seemed to be endless and showed no sign of stopping. Wenrong was shocked. How is it possible? How can a hanging fisher launch such an attack? Wu Yu gritted his teeth and slid backward. The traceless streams of sabers 1 meter in front of Xiao Chen were still shattering, filling the water with cracks. Hiss! The onlookers were completely dumbfounded. Someone was shocked. Is this really the attack of a peak-level hanging fisher? Is he AF * King Hidden Fisher? Someone was lost for words. Do you think a hidden fisher can perform such a terrifying attack at will? Someone panicked. That's right. This was a saber strike. Don't think that the entire river is transforming into a saber. In reality, it's just one saber. Gulp. The sound of swallowing came one after another. Many people were shocked by Han Fei's blow. Han Fei still had a smile on his face. He did not use the Overlord's technique for this attack. It was just a simple array and a little invincible saber intent. He was confident that if he used the art of invincibility, these two people would be crushed by him in an instant. Moonlight. Suddenly, bright moonlight erupted from Wenrong's body in the sky. The woman was moving forward unstoppably under Han Fei's attack. Knowing that Wenrong had used a secret technique, Wu Yu stopped holding back and roared, "Saber Soul Fusion." Chilla! The waves seemed to be torn apart. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Wu Yu and Wenrong not only withstood the terrifying slash, they were even able to move forward through the waves. Han Fei's voice echoed, "Secret technique? So what?" Han Fei was in the water, and the array was under his feet. As long as he had enough spiritual energy, the attack wouldn't stop. He wanted to see if the two of them could reach him. Not just Han Fei, but everybody else was waiting. At this moment, nobody thought that Wu Yu and Wenrong could win. As long as they could hold on and not be defeated, they would be able to save face. At least in the future, it would definitely be a topic of conversation in the clubs. At this moment, hundreds and thousands of senses swept over the river. It meant that many experts were paying attention to it too. Wenrong, hold on. Captain, you can't lose. Wu Yu, come on. The people of the Dark Hunter Legion couldn't have looked more awful. They didn't expect that Han Fei would be so strong. Wenrong and Wu Yu were two of the strongest hanging fishers of the Dark Hunter Legion. If they failed, it would mean that the younger generation of the Dark Hunter Legion had failed. Some people were surging in the crowd. Among them were the peerless heavenly talents of the Scattered Stars First Unit. Meng Yi, Yi Xiangxiang, Ning Dong, Gong Yuehan, and Tang Go. When Yi Xiangxiang saw the figure standing in the middle of the river, she couldn't help but cover her mouth when she saw the posture of the sword that contained the power of an entire river. Tang Go grinned brilliantly. It was the most brilliant smile Han Fei had ever had since he disappeared. Only Meng Yi looked at Han Fei in a daze and murmured, "What a powerful array." After a minute, Gong Yuehan slightly shook her head. Wu Yu and Wenrong can't reach him. The others nodded too. The closer Han Fei's attack was to him, the stronger the resistance was. The two of them were about 10 meters away from Han Fei. It was already difficult for them to move their feet. It was impossible for them to reach Han Fei. Bam! Wu Yu failed first. His saber soul was shattered, and he was thrown hundreds of meters away by the tide. His body was already covered in wounds. Wenrong shouted again, and starlight glowed. All of a sudden, Wenrong disappeared and reappeared half a meter before Han Fei. In such a violent slash, she used the power of Starlight Flash, which immediately made everyone who was watching the battle suck in a breath. However, they could only see that Wenrong's dagger couldn't move any further when it was half a foot away from Han Fei. Crack! 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 Not good! The moment the dagger in Wenrong's hand was broken, a man scolded, "Han Fei, don't go too far." At the same time, the man slapped Han Fei with a giant hand. Bam! Wenrong was flung backward and crashed into the mud at the bottom of the river like a cannonball. When the giant void hand fell in front of Han Fei's strength increased sharply. Almost in an instant, the giant hand was shattered. Voila! When the tide fell, Han Fei walked to the shore with a branch in his hand and said casually, "The Dark Hunter Legion is too weak." The street by the river was now completely silent. Only Han Fei's words were echoing and striking everyone's heart. Domineering? Arrogant? Conceited? Although Han Fei was already famous after he broke into the Dark Hunter Legion. Everyone only thought that he was arrogant. Perhaps he was a genius craftsman, but craftsmen were not heaven's favorites when it came to combat. Although Han Fei returned unstoppably and broke into the Dark Hunter Legion again and became famous on the Scattered Stars Island, everyone only thought that he was lawless and no one thought about his strength. This time, under the watchful eyes of everyone, Han Fei defeated 2 top heavenly talents with 1 slash. That was shocking. Han Fei's strength was so terrifying. Of course, some people in the crowd had seen Han Fei's battle scenes more than once. For example, Luo Xiaobai, Tang Gu, and Gong Yuehan. They had all expected it. Han Fei grinned and looked at Tang Gu. I'm back. Did you go to the Twisted Jungle? Tang Gu nodded. Yes. Han Fei didn't look at Tang Gu again but responded, see you in the Twisted Jungle. The crowd automatically made way for Han Fei. Han Fei immediately saw Zhang Xuanyu, who was flirting with a little girl who was watching. Zhang Xuanyu said, Girl, the one who was fighting just now is my brother. Do you want to ask him for advice? In fact, I taught him some of my experience. Can I teach you, Auntie? Bam! Han Fei went up and kicked him down. Let's go. The little girl hurriedly said, Hey! How can I find you? Zhang Xuanyu looked back with a brilliant smile. Don't bother. We'll meet again in the vast sea of people. I look forward to meeting you next time. Han Fei said gloomily, Hurry up and go back to your patrol team. Zhang Xuanyu muttered, Don't interrupt me every time. I'm now responsible for dispatching the patrol team. I can take 2 days off every 5 days. Luo Xiaobai shook her head slightly. Han Fei, when will you go to the Empyrean waterfall? Han Fei thought for a moment. I'm not in a hurry. I still have something else to do. I just don't know if my position in the Scattered Stars 7th unit is still there. Yes. Luo Xiaobai explained, as long as your behavior is fine, this position will not be vacated. You can go back and have a look when you have a chance. Han Fei smiled. No hurry. Can the Scattered Stars Island produce semi-divine weapons now? Lu Renquang said, I don't think so, but they can be produced, although the output is still very low. But anyway, the output is higher than before. Han Fei sighed. It seemed that old Guan and Mu Jiar couldn't deal with him. Then Han Fei said to Lu Renquang, give me your waist tag. Lu Renquang asked blankly, why? Han Fei grabbed it and scanned his waist tag. 5 million points of credit had been transferred to Lu Renquang's account. Lu Renquang exclaimed, Points again? What do you want to buy this time? Han Fei put on a brilliant smile. Spiritual fruits, spiritual energy, spiritual fruits. Lu Renquang was stunned. All of them? Han Fei nodded. All of them. Also, it will be either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Today is the 3rd chapter. Thank you for your support. Please subscribe and support the original version. Your subscriptions are my motivation. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:23. Wu Yu and Wen Rong, as heavenly talents among hunters, might not be so famous on the Scattered Stars Island. They couldn't be compared with well-known refiners such as Guan Qinyan and Mu Jia. After all, they were hunters. However, the news that Han Fei defeated 2 top heavenly talents with 1 slash was immediately spread out, because too many people saw it. On the 4th floor of the Scattered Stars prison, 2 middle-aged men were drinking tea, one serious and the other gentle. Shueishenqi nodded. Not bad. Han Guanshu smiled and said, It's quite beyond my expectation. My plan is that he won't come until 10 years later. Shueishenqi sneered. Even you can't predict the future? Han Guanshu shook his head slightly. I'm not a god. Fate was unpredictable, and the heavenly Tao was impermanent. This child's fate had changed. Most of my previous plans can't be used. He is luckier than me. Shueishenqi glanced at the sky. So, you're anxious? Han Guanshu shook his head again. I'm just going with the flow. There was a moment of silence. Shueishenqi drank up the tea in the cup and stared at Han Guanshu coldly. I've met your conditions. Then what do I want to know? Han Guanshu said lightly, you can only choose one answer. It's either the demon forest channel or the arrival of a strong master a few days ago. Shueishenqi snorted coldly. I let your son stay with you for more than 20 days. As if he didn't hear it, Han Guanshu gently blew the steam from the teacup and said slowly, which answer do you want to know? Shueishenqi narrowed his eyes slightly. Do you know that both answers are very important and related to the life and death of thousands of people? Han Guanshu raised his eyes. Hurry up. It's almost time for my meal. Shueishenqi clenched his fists and stared at Han Guanshu for a long time before he said, Why can't the demon forest channel be opened? Han Guanshu smiled and said, 2 points. First, the demon forest channel can't pass the infinite ocean, so your exploration goal can't be achieved. Second, the Yao Xin behind the demon forest channel is stronger than humans think. You and I both know that the Thousand Star City has no king, but the demon forest does. You can't even solve a demon city. What are you going to bet on the demon plant forest at the other end of the channel? Just because of this? Han Guanshu said lightly, I've been there once. After another moment of silence, Shueishenqi suddenly asked, Then can we just follow your original plan? Han Fei? Are you going to help him open his sea? Han Guanshu shook his head with a smile. That's another question. Shueishenqi frowned and said, But the demon forest passage will eventually open. How many years can you delay it? Han Guanshu smiled and said, Let's wait a few more years. A sea-quelling painting is enough to shake the Thousand-Star City for 100 years. This is the consequence of not having a sea pioneer. Shueishenqi suddenly stood up. Okay, then let's watch for a few more years. Han Fei, who had lost his job, had nothing to do. Although he had nothing to do in the past, he still had to be responsible for a group of people, so he couldn't just leave them behind. This time, he really had nothing to do. No one even assigned tasks to him, and no one asked him to kill a few half-mermaids every month to contribute to mankind. Twisted jungle. Han Fei leisurely walked into this place full of poisonous and evil weeds. Halfway through, Han Fei suddenly smiled. As he walked, he stretched out his hand and swiped his finger in the air from time to time, breaking layers of maze arrays. After breaking about 10 maze arrays, Han Fei looked around and said helplessly, Old Jiang, aren't you afraid that I can't get in with the serial arrays you've set up? Han Fei scratched his head and observed for a moment. Void array, 1 array, 7 arrays. Suddenly, in this jungle, there was wind and rain, golden light pierced through, and virtual fire rose. After a while, he saw a large array barrier. At this time, a hole was opened in the array, and Han Fei quickly stepped in. Old man, I'm back, old man. Humph. Crossing the small plantation, Han Fei saw Tengu sweating in front of a big stove, and a strange fragrance wafted into his nose. Han Fei asked in surprise, Tengu, what are you doing? Tengu didn't dare to be distracted. He glanced at Han Fei out of the corner of his eyes and didn't dare to speak. Crossing the stove, Han Fei saw old Jiang, who looked at Han Fei with a straight face and scolded, You're stupid, but you also sent another idiot here. He had no chance of learning the spirit-gathering art, array formations, and cooking. Fortunately, he has a little talent in alchemy. But he's stupid. Han Fei said helplessly, Old man, when did you learn alchemy? Also, don't you care if I'm okay outside? I almost died outside. Old Jiang snorted, poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth, wiped his beard stained with wine casually, and said, You're a scourge. I won't be surprised if you die outside in the future. Han Fei was speechless. Are you still cursing me? Old Jiang said angrily, I personally went to sea to look for you for more than 2 months, but I couldn't even find your body. But after half a year, you suddenly came back to life. Han Fei asked in surprise, You looked for me? Old Jiang snorted. Do you think I can't lie at home comfortably? You're the troublemaker. Han Fei snorted and glanced at Tangu. Wait, Tangu is learning alchemy. What's the use of alchemy? Humph! Old Jiang glanced at Han Fei contemptuously. How dare you look down on alchemy? You have no idea how fast you can improve your strength and make breakthroughs. Fortunately, I didn't teach you the boundless alchemy scripture. Otherwise, I don't know where it would be at this moment. Han Fei curled his lips. It's really hard to refute this. If I hadn't met old Han, the spirit-gathering scripture would still be in the dust. Bam! As soon as old Jiang said this, there was an explosion behind him, and bursts of black smoke came out of the furnace. The strange fragrance just now turned into a burnt smell in the blink of an eye. Tangu was scratching his head stupidly. Puff! Old Jiang was so angry that he sprayed a drop of water on Tangu. Calm down, calm down. Alchemy is more complicated than refining. Look at what you've refined. A nest of good pills has been ruined by you. Han Fei gave Tangu a helpless look, hinting, this old man is like this. You chose the path of alchemy yourself. Just bear with it. Anyway, the pills had been ruined, so Tangu quickly asked, Han Fei, where did you go after you went to sea? Why didn't you come back until now? Also, how did you sneak into the sea demons? For a moment, all kinds of questions were thrown out. Han Fei glanced at old Jiang. It seemed that they all knew. Just when Han Fei was about to say something, old Jiang said, let's discuss it when Xiao Qin comes back. Hurry up and make food. Did you bring back any delicious food after being overseas for so long? Han Fei rolled his eyes and thought to himself, I've eaten all the delicious food on the 4th level of the Scattered Stars prison. Han Fei patted Tangu on the shoulder. Let's go and cook. Give me a hand. After a while cooking, Han Fei said to Tangu, don't investigate that matter anymore. Tangu was at a loss. What do you mean? While cutting the fish, Han Fei glanced at old Jiang out of the corner of his eyes. Don't investigate old Han's matter anymore. Tangu was stunned for a moment. Don't investigate our father's matter anymore? Seeing that old Jiang didn't respond, Han Fei nodded and said, yes, it's not urgent. I have a clue. Tangu immediately said excitedly, what clue? Where did you get the clue? Is he still alive? Han Fei said leisurely, he's probably still alive. But he's not in a good situation. Tangu immediately said anxiously, let me see the clue. If he's not in a good situation, we have to find him as soon as possible. Seeing that old Jiang didn't respond, Han Fei turned to look at Tangu. Trust me. Let's talk about it later. Tangu was taken aback for a moment and then nodded. Little did he know that the moment Han Fei turned his head, old Jiang curled his lips slightly. Then, he immediately returned to his original state and continued to sleep. About 2 hours later, Jiang Qin came back. After smelling the aroma of food, Jiang Qin knew that Han Fei was back. None of the people here could make this kind of food. Old Jiang's dishes always tasted a bit bad. Besides, according to old Jiang's personality, he wouldn't cook himself under normal circumstances. At the table, Jiang Qin glanced at Han Fei and then at old Jiang. The array outside has been broken. Old Jiang was chewing a piece of lobster meat and hummed. So be it. We're on our way. Jiang Qin looked at Han Fei again. Have you lost your sea tokens? Han Fei shook his head. No. Jiang Qin nodded. I don't want to go to the pool under the Empyrean waterfall. Fishing is not a problem. By the way, don't be influenced by the people over there. Han Fei. Tangu glanced at Han Fei. I heard that the Empyrean waterfall is full of villains. Han Fei sneered. My senior brother Dashuai is very nice. Jiang Qin and old Jiang really wanted to roll their eyes, but old Jiang said, why do you think he is nice? Han Fei was puzzled. Is he not nice? Every time I see senior brother Dashuai, he is nice. Except that he is a little silly, he is nice. Old Jiang blew a strand of his beard. Is it nice to steal his wife? Is it nice to slap their captain so hard that he couldn't get out of bed for 3 years? Is it nice to steal an undersea chimney? Huh! Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. No. Seriously? Steal his wife? Beat the captain? Steal an undersea chimney? Han Fei suddenly remembered that he had 2 other senior brothers and senior sisters, and couldn't help asking, what about my other 2 senior brothers and senior sisters? Jiang Qin chewed a fisheye gently. They are hiding outside and dare not come back. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. What did they do? Jiang Qin said lightly, they secretly dug a hole into the transverse mountain to steal the spirit awakening fluid. Han Fei, what kind of people are they? They even dared to dig the transverse mountain? First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 824. In the twisted jungle, after eating and drinking, Han Fei chatted with Tangu alone for a while. Han Fei didn't stay here for long but went straight to the Empyrean waterfall. After all, he and Tangu had grown up and walked different paths, but as long as they kept moving forward, it was the right thing to do. Tangu stopped Han Fei. You can cultivate in the Empyrean waterfall for a while. During the time you were away, they have basically all become hidden fishers. Han Fei nodded slightly and smiled. Don't worry. It won't take me long to become a hidden fisher. As for you, you have a level 7 spiritual heritage, but you are only a junior hidden fisher now. You'd better hurry up. Tangu grinned and laughed. I'm still very strong. When can we have a match again? Han Fei waved his hand and said, next time, when there is a mission, there will always be a chance. The twisted jungle was very close to the Empyrean waterfall. As long as you left the jungle, you could see the high mountains and the vague clouds and mist between the peak. So, the old man was really good at choosing a place to live in seclusion here. When the Empyrean waterfall was first discovered, there were dense bones under the waterfall. At this moment, this place had become another cage. Some troublemakers, people who were restricted from going to sea, people who made gross mistakes, and other people were all in this place. In terms of population, the Empyrean waterfall was divided into 2 layers, which had a total of more than 300 households. Among them, 38 households were in the inner area, and 279 households were in the outer area. Whether it was the households in the inner area or the outer area, in terms of strength, they were all at least 6-star, and 3 of them had even reached 8-star. As many as 12 people had 7-star. This meant that there were 15 hidden fisher-level residents in this house. But in fact, the number of hidden fishers far exceeded this number. However, almost no one on the Scattered Stars Island would believe that there were only 15 hidden fishers here. For example, Wang Dashui, this guy had 6 stars. Was he a hanging fisher? At this moment, Han Fei landed on the periphery of the Empyrean waterfall. He was thinking, should I live on the periphery or the inner area? In theory, there was no difference between the inside and the outside, so he could live anywhere. But intuitively, Han Fei felt that the inner area was more dangerous. How about I live with senior brother? Not good. It would be great if he could live in a more secluded place. Otherwise, why would she meet Wang Dashui every day? Playing landlord and eating hot pot every day? In Han Fei's field of vision, he could see a house about a few hundred meters away. Since Han Fei arrived here, dozens of perceptions had swept past him. Han Fei didn't care. He planned to find a suitable location and build a house by himself. Not long after he walked, he saw someone holding a big bowl and squatting at the door, looking at him quietly. He looked no different from an old farmer in the countryside. It seemed that these experts had all lived to a certain level. Someone appeared on the roof and greeted Han Fei with dried fish in his mouth. Someone leaned against the doorframe of their house and looked at Han Fei up and down. Han Fei was speechless. Some of these people were becoming more and more like old farmers, and some were becoming more and more like country kids. After passing dozens of houses, Han Fei saw a man looking at him casually with 2 daggers in his hands. When Han Fei passed by, the man suddenly said, "Wen Rong is my junior sister." Han Fei stopped, tilted his head, and looked at him. "Oh? Why? Are you going to avenge her?" The corner of the man's mouth curled. "She is not as good as others, so she can't blame others. But if there is a chance, can we have a spar?" Han Fei chuckled. "When I'm free." Passing by this house, Han Fei saw a girl in a flowing gauze dress trimming the flowers in her yard not far away. The girl looked up and saw that Han Fei was looking at her. She pursed her lips and raised her head slightly. "If you need to grow some flowers and plants in your house, you can come to me and I'll transplant some for you." Han Fei looked at this yard and found that the spiritual energy was extremely rich. Immediately, Han Fei knew that this girl must be a powerful spirit gatherer. In front of her house, the flowers and plants around seemed to be planted in a special pattern. It should be said that this woman was also an array master. And those who liked flowers and plants were more likely to be manipulators. Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. They were all F***king geniuses. However, this girl's array skills should not be as good as his. Of course, she was definitely better than him. Han Fei also passed by a house. To be precise, it was not a home at all, but a big stone. A young man in white was sitting on the stone, with a sword on his knees. Within 300 meters of this person, there were sword marks everywhere. He should be a sword cultivator who didn't even bother to build a house. Han Fei walked about half the way, and suddenly, a figure flew over from the air. Besides, the other party didn't fly straight at him, but horizontally. Duong, the man crashed to the ground and smashed 100 meters away from Han Fei's position. "Senior brother Dashuai?" Clang. A big green door crashed to the ground and smashed 2 meters away from Wang Dashuai, causing the ground to shake. Han Fei scanned with his perception and thought, who on earth could throw Wang Dashuai out? However, Han Fei scanned with his perception and saw a burly woman. However, the woman nodded slightly. Then Han Fei's perception was shattered. Han Fei. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder, is this the wife that senior brother Dashuai snatched back? It can't be. With her size and strength, she can throw Wang Dashuai and the big green door away. How can senior brother snatch her back? Immediately, Han Fei heard someone shouting, "Dashuai, when can you be a little more tough? How many times has it been?" Someone's voice came from a distance. "Dashuai, you have to repair this road." "Your wife. Forget it. You have to repair the road." Behind Han Fei, the girl who had planted flowers poked her head out and shouted, "Dashuai, I have just planted some spiritual herbs here. They can promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. Do you want some?" After hearing this voice, Wang Dashuai shivered, quickly got up from the ground, and waved his hand. "No, no, I'm here to pick up my little junior brother." Han Fei was speechless. "Is this how you come to pick me up?" Wang Dashuai got up, carried the big green door, came to Han Fei's side and smiled. "Don't be offended. Your sister-in-law is cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Were we just joking?" Han Fei glanced at Wang Dashuai strangely. "Senior brother, is it because my sister-in-law doesn't welcome me?" Wang Dashuai immediately shook his head. "That's impossible. It's mainly because I said a few words to Yui today." Han Fei wondered, who is Yui? Wang Dashuai secretly glanced at Han Fei's back and immediately withdrew his gaze. Han Fei immediately looked back, only to find that the girl who grew flowers was smiling at the two of them. Han Fei immediately understood why Wang Dashuai was thrown out. The girl behind him was indeed beautiful, gentle and introverted. However, when he thought of Wang Dashuai's wife, Han Fei couldn't help but shiver. Han Fei couldn't help patting Wang Dashuai's arm and said, "Senior brother, take care of yourself." Wang Dashuai smiled innocently. It's okay. From now on, you will live under the Empyrean waterfall. You have to get to know the people here. How about I show you around?" Han Fei nodded. "Okay," Wang Dashuai said in a low voice. In fact, the people here at the Empyrean waterfall are all very nice, not as bad as the outside world says. Han Fei chuckled. Nice my ass. It's not like I didn't see it on the way here. I just feel that the atmosphere here is very abnormal. Wang Dashui said. But there are a few weirdos here. I have to tell you in advance. But you have to remember, they are just weirdos, not bad. Han Fei blinked and looked at Wang Dashui. I'm afraid there's no good person in the world that you're talking about, right? Wang Dashui pointed to the way Han Fei came and said with a smile, just now you met Yui. She likes to grow flowers. But remember, unless she transplants them to you herself, you must not touch her flowers. Han Fei asked curiously, why do you say that? Wang Dashui sighed. Originally, there was a person living next door to her house. Just because he chatted with her at breakfast in the morning, he picked a flower from her house, and she hung him under the Empyrean waterfall with a ghost vine and washed him for 3 days and 3 nights. Wow! Han Fei glanced at the high waterfall, swallowed, and thought to himself, that girl looks good to me. She is very kind and has a gentle smile. Wang Dashui pointed to the sword cultivator sitting on the stone and said, just call him Wu Ming. That's enough. Nameless? Does he know Sword 23? Suddenly, a voice floated over. Sword 23? It sounds like a very powerful sword skill, right? Han Fei immediately turned around and smiled at the big stone. No, it's just an ordinary sword skill. Hearing that it was an ordinary sword skill, Nameless didn't respond. Wang Dashui smiled and said, don't worry too much. Let's talk. Just don't get within 300 meters of Nameless. Han Fei wondered, why? Wang Dashui smiled and said, if you want to challenge him, you can go in and have a try. Wang Dashui continued, when you came in, did you see a guy squatting at the door eating? Han Fei nodded. Wang Dashui said, his name is Yushire. He has a very good temper and is the only good guy in our Empyrean waterfall. Before Wang Dashui finished speaking, all kinds of voices floated over. Wang Dashui, you've gone too far, haven't you? Wang Dashui, do I give you a hard time or something? Dashui, you're insulting me. Brother Dashui, I don't like what you said. Han Fei looked at Wang Dashui strangely, thinking, senior brother, you're going to be beaten again when you go back. Sister-in-law probably heard it too. Then, Wang Dashui continued to introduce the most typical ones. The guy lying on the roof looking at the sky is called Ning Jingyao, a knife cultivator. The girl who just called me Brother Dashui is called Li Luoluo. She is nicknamed the Demon Child of 100 Faces. The one leaning against the door is called Du Jianglu, a savage soul warrior. After a while, Wang Dashui smiled and said, do you live in the inner circle or the periphery? If you live in the periphery, I'll introduce you to the inner circle later. If you want to live in the inner circle, let's go there now. Han Fei thought for a moment. I want to live in a remote and quiet place. By the way, are there fish in the pool? Suddenly, the air suddenly fell silent. Wang Dashui asked in surprise, are you going to fish in the pool? Second update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 825. Han Fei clearly felt that all the surrounding perceptions paused for a while and seemed to be quite shocked by Han Fei's idea. Han Fei asked in surprise, why? Can't I fish? Wang Dashui was also stunned for a while. Yes, of course you can. Except for Granny Yin's Meow Meow beast, it will go fishing by the pool. You are the first one to say that you want to go fishing by the pool. Meow Meow beast? Wang Dashui smiled and said, it's a very strange land creature. However, little junior brother, you want to be quiet and fish. Are you going to live in the inner circle? Han Fei wondered, why? Is the inner circle dangerous? Wang Dashui shook his head. It's not dangerous. It's just, forget it, I'll take you for a walk first. With a puzzled mind, Han Fei followed Wang Dashui to the inner circle. Many people cast surprised eyes at him. Yui, who was the closest to them and heard them the most clearly, stuck out her tongue. After walking for about 7 or 8 kilometers, Han Fei saw small courtyards scattered around the Empyrean waterfall. Wang Dashui said, "Some people are not at home, and some people don't like to contact outsiders. However, there are a few that we have to visit." After a moment, Wang Dashui took Han Fei to a courtyard and introduced, "The one who lives in this house is Grandpa Nangong. His full name is Nangong Xian, and he has 8 stars. He is half a step into the realm of law enforcer, but he hasn't made a breakthrough yet." Han Fei nodded slightly in his heart. Shu Shan is right. The hurdle of becoming a hidden fisher is very difficult, and some people can't even break through it in their entire lives. Han Fei couldn't help asking, "Senior brother, how strong are you?" Wang Dashui scratched his head and said, "I'm not as strong as Grandpa Nangong." Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. A little weaker than a half-step law enforcer? Is he equivalent to a peak-level hidden fisher? Wang Dashui knocked on the door twice and said, "Grandpa Nangong, open the door. It's my junior brother." A voice came from the door. "I see. He's cultivating in seclusion. Go and see the old lady and the old poison." Han Fei had a feeling that this was an invitation to him. Seeing Wang Dashui nod, Han Fei cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Grandpa Nangong. Let's go to the next one." After a while, Han Fei came to the courtyard of the second house and found an old lady who looked to be in her 70s or 80s, sunbathing on a chair. Wang Dashui said, "Mrs. Een, this is my junior brother." Han Fei smiled. "Nice to meet you, Granny Een." The old lady opened her eyes and looked at Han Fei. "Not bad. Do you want to have lunch at my house? I asked Da Huang to go fishing." Wang Dashui said with a smile, "No wonder I didn't see Goldie. He went fishing. We won't be eating. I'll bring junior brother to Mr. Ye's place." The old lady nodded slightly. "Then go. That's right, after seeing the old poison creature, let your little junior brother sit over at little Nine's side for a while." Wang Dashui was slightly stunned and then scratched his head. "Okay." Han Fei caught on to one word. The old lady said let, she did not say bring. It meant that Han Fei should go alone. After meeting Granny Een on the way, Han Fei couldn't help but ask, "Senior brother, who is little Nine?" Wang Dashui hesitated for a moment and said, "Little Nine is a girl." Han Fei waited for a long time. Seeing that Wang Dashui didn't speak again, he couldn't help but ask, "And then? That's it?" Wang Dashui glanced at Han Fei. "You'll know when the time comes." Han Fei was speechless. "Can't I tell you? It's so weird." But after taking 2 steps, Wang Dashui suddenly said again, "Little Nine is a real heavenly talent. She should be 1 year older than you. Are you 16 or 17 this year?" Han Fei rolled his eyes. "I'm going to be 18 soon." Wang Dashui was stunned and smiled. "Oh? Then at the same age, little Nine's strength has reached the level of a peak-level hidden fisher." Han Fei's brain suddenly exploded, and he was dumbfounded. "What?" Wang Dashui chuckled. "So, little Nine is a real genius. She came to the Empyrean waterfall on her own initiative. She is the only one among the residents of the Empyrean waterfall who came on her own initiative." Han Fei's heart was in turmoil. He believed that his cultivation speed was already not slow. Even heavenly talents like Luo Xiaobai and Tang Go had just become hidden fishers. This little Nine was already a peak-level hidden fisher. This cultivation speed could be said to be heaven-defying. Han Fei thought along the way and suddenly felt that something was wrong. The heaven spirit detoxifying insect in his body suddenly moved. The heaven spirit detoxifying insect grabbed some toxins from somewhere and began to eat them. Poison. Thinking of the old poison that Granny Een just mentioned, he wondered if this person was a poison cultivator. The courtyard was more than 500 meters away from Han Fei, but the poison had already invaded his body. Wang Dashui glanced at Han Fei. Did you feel it? You can block it with spiritual energy. As long as it's not close, it's okay. After a while, when the two of them walked to the gate of the courtyard, Han Fei found that the courtyard was full of poisonous weeds and insects, and a young man was sitting on a chair in the middle of the courtyard, with a teapot and cups on the table. A seven-colored snake, coiled on the man's shoulder, was looking at Han Fei. Wang Dashui rarely looked serious. Nice to meet you, Senior Yi. Han Fei thought, didn't Granny Yin call him Old Poison? Why is he so young? Wang Dashui said to Han Fei via voice transmission, Senior Yi, also known as Yi Qingfeng, is more than 200 years old. Han Fei realized that this old guy was just trying to make himself look younger. Immediately, Han Fei cupped his hands. Nice to meet you, Senior Yi. Yi Qingfeng waved his hand. Young man, you are very resistant to poison. Come here and have a drink with me. Wang Dashui's face changed slightly. However, Han Fei smiled faintly. I'll do as you say. The moment Han Fei walked into the yard, the heaven spirit detoxifying insect immediately moved. It grabbed one poisonous thread after another and began to stuff it into its mouth. Sit! Yi Qingfeng glanced at Han Fei. When he looked at Han Fei's dantian, he was a little confused, so he asked Han Fei to sit down. He picked up the teapot, poured a cup of tea into a cup, and pushed it to Han Fei. Come on, have some tea. Han Fei's face was as usual, as if the red and green tea in front of him was not poisonous at all. Han Fei raised his hand and drank up the cup. It's sour and sweet. It tastes good. Thank you, Senior Yi. In Han Fei's body, the heaven spirit detoxifying insect's claws were like hooks, and clusters of poison drifted over one after another. Swish! Feeling that the heaven spirit detoxifying insect's body suddenly lit up, Han Fei frowned slightly. The heaven spirit detoxifying insect has upgraded? Not only has it upgraded, but the heaven spirit detoxifying insect also seemed to want more. Han Fei immediately looked at Yi Qingfeng and said, Senior Yi, I'm a little thirsty. Can I have another cup? Yi Qingfeng was slightly surprised. He looked at Han Fei again and asked tentatively, Did you buy the heaven spirit detoxifying insect of the logistics division? Han Fei smiled faintly. Senior, did you find out? Yi Qingfeng immediately understood. No wonder. However, this tea is very expensive. Fine, I'll give you another cup. Wang Dashui didn't enter the courtyard. Seeing Han Fei drink 2 cups of poisonous tea in a row, he couldn't help but admire him. This junior brother is really tough. He even dares to enter the Old Poison's courtyard and drink the Old Poison's poisonous tea. Wang Dashui couldn't help but think of little Jiu. It seemed that the little girl had also drunk it when she came here. Thinking of this, Wang Dashui couldn't help but smile. Interesting. While Wang Dashui was daydreaming, Han Fei had already walked out and glanced at Wang Dashui in confusion. Senior brother, what are you laughing at? Wang Dashui immediately came back to his senses. Huh? Am I laughing? Han Fei nodded and said seriously, You are laughing. Wang Dashui smiled awkwardly. Nothing. I just think of your sister-in-law. Well, go ahead by yourself. Go straight ahead for about 1,500 meters. There is a simple and elegant courtyard. Go in by yourself. Han Fei frowned. I'll go by myself? Wang Dashui patted Han Fei on the shoulder. Go ahead. Come to my house. You know the way to my house. I'll ask your sister-in-law to prepare some dishes and some wine for you. Han Fei nodded. Okay. Han Fei was about to use his perception when he heard Wang Dashui say, It's the inner area. Don't use your perception. It's not far anyway. Han Fei took a deep look at Wang Dashui. Okay, you can go ahead. Han Fei looked at the courtyard in the distance in confusion and frowned slightly. Is this Xiao Jiu's home? Han Fei thought for a moment, I don't even know her name. But, immediately, Han Fei looked back and was about to ask, only to find that Wang Dashui had disappeared. Han Fei couldn't help but laugh, shook his head, and muttered, "It's not some scourge or beast. What are you afraid of, senior brother?" Thinking about it, Han Fei strode to the yard ahead with his head held high. He walked slowly all the way, and it took Han Fei about 7 or 8 minutes to reach the courtyard. Suddenly, Han Fei found that hundreds of perceptions fell on him. He immediately glanced at the sky with a black face. Didn't they say not to use perception in the inner area? What the F***ck is this? Han Fei walked to the gate of the courtyard. It was clearly a small fence, but he couldn't see clearly what was going on inside. Array? Han Fei glanced at the sky again. Okay. They all want to see me make a fool of myself, don't they? No wonder senior brother Dashwai refused to come. Is it because he is afraid of the array? However, the corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. I'm here to visit, not to break the array. What's there to see? Da. Han Fei knocked on the door and didn't speak, just standing outside the door with a smile. Come in. A crisp voice came from the courtyard. The voice was elegant, concise, and crisp like an oriole. The wooden door creaked open, but Han Fei still couldn't see what was inside. Han Fei was speechless. Do you really want me to break the array? Can't you just put away the array? Han Fei sighed slightly. Since I'm here, what can I do? Come in. Third. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 826. Because of Han Fei's arrival, almost everyone in the Empyrean waterfall paid attention to him. Especially some people on the periphery, some of whom couldn't perceive so far away. So, they visited in groups of 3 or 4. Almost every family whose yard was close to the inner periphery had 7 or 8 people sitting. The person who was visited said in a speechless manner, "Look at you. Why are you so curious?" Someone sneered. What do you mean we are curious? It seems that if we don't come, you won't be so curious. Someone chuckled. Interesting. How many people have been arranged to go to Little Nine's house for a blind date? TSK, do you think he will succeed? Someone laughed. I bet an ultra-quality spiritual weapon that he will be kicked out later. Someone said leisurely, I don't think so. After all, Han Fei defeated 2 heavenly talents with a single slash. I bet he can at least enter the yard. I bet 1,000 caddies of spiritual spring that he can't break the array. Forget it. I heard that Han Fei won yesterday with arrays. No wonder Little Nine's array seems to have become stronger. Because he didn't perceive it, Han Fei didn't know that he was being watched, let alone that a group of people was betting on him. Han Fei was looking at the misty array at the moment and shook his head helplessly. There are so many arrays here. It looked cloudy and misty from the outside. In fact, Han Fei was quite sure that Little Nine might be sleeping soundly inside. This array didn't affect the light inside at all. Han Fei glanced at the ground and the railings. Cloud mist array, light concealing array, water illusion array. Boy, he really deserves to be a genius. If it were in the past, I definitely wouldn't have been able to break this array. Han Fei thought for a while. Little Nine's array mainly blocked the 5 senses and 6 senses. So, if he wanted to break the array, he had to be blazing with the wind and break the darkness with the light. After thinking for a while, Han Fei's fingers drew in the air. Lines appeared one by one, and suddenly the wind howled at the gate of the courtyard, and a blazing sun burst out in the sky with a strange high temperature. Chilla! Han Fei took this opportunity to step into the courtyard. The clouds and mist disappeared, and the black mist began to fade. Han Fei took another step, and a pale golden brilliance enveloped him. An illusory realm of nothingness shattered. Gotcha! When the illusion collapsed, Han Fei's face suddenly changed slightly. Han Fei stepped on the ground, and a wall of water suddenly appeared in front of him, and the old turtle lay horizontally under his feet. Sure enough, at that moment, Han Fei found that a large number of sword auras pierced into the water wall. When the sword light shone, Han Fei saw a wave coming at him. Tidal sword formation? Han Fei narrowed his eyes, took 2 steps back, and made 4 strokes in a row. Watch me break the waves and slash the tides. In front of Han Fei, a tide also appeared and knife light flashed. Han Fei put on a faint smile. As long as it wasn't a killing array, everything was fine. He had already mastered the basic formations. Ordinary array formations could not stump him at all. However, the smile on Han Fei's face did not last more than 2 seconds. Han Fei suddenly saw the big array of the river as a knife that he had set up yesterday. Han Fei was speechless. Was this girl at the scene yesterday? Han Fei didn't have time to think too much. With a flip of his hand, a branch appeared in his hand. Chilla! He used the draw technique, and the dazzling knife light was in a stalemate with a big river. Han Fei didn't dare to neglect. Frowning slightly, he drew 9 strokes in the air with his fingers, and the 9 knife arrays were combined into one. In an instant, above the river phantom, knife light cut the water with irresistible force. Han Fei smiled faintly. I have other ways to break the array. I thought of this array so I can break it however I want. With that, Han Fei stepped on the ground, and the 3 spirit-gathering arrays merged into one. Han Fei secretly moved. Above the sky, under the scorching sun, a dazzling golden pillar of fire suddenly fell. Boom! In just 1 second, the spiritual energy in the entire courtyard was absorbed by Han Fei. The formations on both sides turned into nothingness and vanished into thin air. Han Fei secretly activated the 5th level of the void fishing art, which could absorb spiritual energy at a terrifying speed in the daytime. The surrounding spiritual energy couldn't support Han Fei's absorption. Therefore, all of the formations would collapse in an instant. When everything calmed down, Han Fei saw that this was a very simple and elegant small courtyard. The bluestone slabs under his feet were engraved with array relief. The flowers and plants on both sides seemed to be transplanted from Yi's place, but most of them were in warm colors. In addition to the warm colors, there were some cold-colored plants as embellishments, which looked a little gray and not bright. On the right side of the small courtyard there was a desk. The girl casually let her hair flutter to one side. At this time, she was holding a pen in one hand and holding her sleeves in the other. Her watery and gentle eyes were a little surprised, and a little flustered. The corners of her mouth slightly closed, revealing a little white. Seeing Han Fei, she blushed slightly and then quickly lowered her head. Han Fei! Woo! Oh my god of sea! My god, it doesn't make sense. Is Han Fei's array attainment so high? The last ray of sun he borrowed from the sky, that's also an array? For a moment, the group of onlookers all clicked their tongues in amazement. Someone immediately regretted. Oh, what a loss! Is little Jiao with Han Fei the troublemaker? Someone shook his head. Little Jiao has high standards. Han Fei is a troublemaker. Someone sneered. As if you don't cause trouble? Under the Empyrean waterfall, except for you Shire and little Jiao, who doesn't cause trouble? Only Wang Dashui muttered as he went home, my little junior brother already has a girlfriend. Don't you know? My little junior brother is very loyal. Didn't you see that he just came back from the sea? Han Fei looked at the girl who was a little shy. She was completely different from what he had imagined. The formation that this young lady used was really tight and interlocking with each other. If he was not careful, it could even be said that if it were someone else, such as Guan Qinyan, he would definitely be cut out of the courtyard in less than 2 minutes. Who would have thought that? The girl in front of him was actually so delicate. This kind of delicacy was not pretended, but a natural reaction. The girl was dressed in white and only had 2 earrings to adorn herself. This could be seen from his down-to-earth personality. Gulp! Han Fei swallowed. I don't panic at all. There were many beautiful girls in the world, but they were still a little worse than Xia Xiaochan. In order to show that he didn't care at all, Han Fei changed his previous attitude and said casually to little Jiao, Girl, what's your name? Clang. Plop. F***ck. Gotcha! Many onlookers were thunderstruck. What the F***ck? What the hell is he talking about? This is too much of a hooligan. Wang Dashui quickly looked around, quickly got up from the ground, and took a long breath. Fortunately, all eyes were focused on little junior brother, and no one saw me fall. Otherwise, it would be embarrassing. Little Jiu didn't seem to expect Han Fei to be so rude. However, she had never met such a person. Ever since he was young, everyone treated him with the utmost respect when they saw him. They would all try their best to show a calm and indifferent appearance. How could they be like this? Why did he call her girl as soon as he came up? Little Jiu grabbed her clothes in a panic. You? Han Fei waved his hand and said, "What do you mean by you? My name is Han Fei, very nice." Puff. Many people really wanted to press Han Fei to the ground at this time. Who doesn't know your name is Han Fei? And very nice? That's enough. However, little Jiu also calmed down from the initial panic. She subconsciously rolled her eyes, which instantly attracted the saliva of many perverts who were watching. Seeming to find that someone was watching, little Jiu stretched out her hand and waved. Her white dress swayed, and a layer of cloud and mist enveloped the small courtyard again. In the courtyard, the blazing sun was not blocked and still set as usual. A faint breeze blew, and the two of them stood 7 or 8 meters apart, looking at each other. Han Fei quickly came back to his senses. Well, it's my first day here, so I have to pay a visit. Well, what's your name? Tell me quickly. After that, I have to go to my senior brother's house for dinner. Puff! Little Jiu couldn't hide her smile and said softly, "My name is Juin Ling." Han Fei was stunned for a moment. Is that your surname? Little Jiu nodded slightly. My surname is Juin. Han Fei shrugged. What a strange name. This is the first time I've heard it. He looked at Juin Ling and found that he didn't know what to say, but it would be awkward if he didn't speak. Immediately, Han Fei coughed and said, "Well, come to my house for hot pot tomorrow. Don't forget." Hot pot? Juin Ling had never heard of hot pot. She couldn't help but be very curious. Han Fei thought for a moment and said, "It's a kind of delicacy." Juin Ling immediately smiled sweetly. On the path of cultivation, you can't be distracted. It's just the desire for food. Han Fei chuckled. That's what people who haven't eaten it say. No one who has eaten it says so. Okay, I'm leaving. Remember to come tomorrow. Wait a minute. As soon as Han Fei turned around, he was stopped. So, Han Fei couldn't help but turn around and ask in confusion, "What's wrong?" Juin Ling extended the pen in her hand. "Here you go." Han Fei. Juin Ling said, "Draw an array." Han Fei asked, "What array?" Juin Ling said softly, "Anything." Puzzled, Han Fei walked over and saw a table full of fish skin drawings. Immediately, Han Fei realized that Juin Ling was still at the level of drawing crayfish. Therefore, the seemingly crazy array combination just now was actually prepared by her in advance. Han Fei took a deep look at Juin Ling. "You owe me a big favor." Juin Ling was confused and didn't know what to do. Han Fei casually took the pen from her hand, and then drew a line on a blank fish skin. "Okay, let's go." Juin Ling stared blankly at the line on the fish skin for a long time. Her eyes and mind were full of question marks. 4th update. Asking for votes. I added the 3rd update today because if it was the 3rd update, it wouldn't be good to stop at that position. I'll bring over the content that I'm preparing for tomorrow. Yes, I'll break it tomorrow. End of this chapter. Chapter 8:27. Walking out of the yard, Han Fei smiled faintly and breathed a sigh of relief. He shook his head and walked straight to Wang Dashui's house. Han Fei didn't want to eat those tasteless dishes in his life. Therefore, he had to get there before his sister-in-law, who was rumored to have been kidnapped, attacked him. At that time, he would be happy to show off his skills. However, Han Fei had only walked less than 500 meters when he suddenly saw a figure rushing over from the side. Subconsciously, Han Fei was about to punch. Then, he saw a sneaky guy hurriedly say, Don't. Han Fei wondered, who are you? Han Fei looked at this man. He was dressed in rags and had a few weeds on his head. He was not bad-looking, but his eyes kept darting around. Han Fei didn't know what he was looking at. In any case, the feeling he gave off could be summed up in 2 words. One was sloppy and the other was sly. The man chuckled and said, My name is Qing Qin. I also live in the inner circle. Han Fei, right? I've heard a lot about you. I really envy you for breaking into the Dark Hunter Legion twice. Just based on your actions, I'm the first to be convinced. As he spoke, he put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder. Brother, we will be neighbors in the future. Where are you going to choose to build a house? I'm familiar with this place. Let me help you. Han Fei grabbed the man's black claw in disgust and said with an ugly face, Brother, can you take a bath before coming? Qing Qin said lazily, Why should I take a bath? It will be dirty after I wash it. Why bother? Han Fei took a step aside and waved his hand, and a water ball floated in the air. I'm a neat freak. Qing Qin wondered, what is a neat freak? Han Fei said bluntly, I don't like to talk to dirty guys. With that said, Han Fei shook his shoulder, shaking off the black handprint that had just been left on his shoulder. Qing Qin let out a long sigh helplessly, Fine. I'll take a bath, okay? Immediately, the man walked into the water ball, and with a slight shake of his body, all the stains were shaken out in an instant. Then, the water ball became a black water ball. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. At least this person was clean. Therefore, he still said with some disdain, What are you doing? Qing Qin looked at the sky. At this time, of course we're going to have dinner. Han Fei nodded. Is your home over there? Qing Qin smiled and said, I'm going to Marshal Wang's house to eat. Han Fei paused. No. Wait a minute. Who are you? Thug Academy? Han Fei frowned. Although this person seems to be a hidden fisher, he doesn't reveal his aura. Is he a hidden expert? He can't be from the Thug Academy. If he was from my school, senior brother would have said so. Qing Qin chuckled. I'm not from the Thug Academy. However, this doesn't affect me going to Wang Dashuai's house for dinner. Han Fei wondered why. Qing Qin heaved a long sigh. Brother, you don't know? Don't think that there are so many people living here. Except for Yushire's family and Wang Dashuai's family, no one cooked. I'm so worried. Yushire doesn't know how to cook. It tastes terrible. Wang Dashuai's family's food is not bad. It tastes good. Han Fei was shocked. What the hell is this? So this guy is just a freeloader? Han Fei snorted and said casually, Fine, go ahead. On the way. Qing Qin smiled and said, Old Han, do you know? You are the first man to walk into little Jiu's house and spend time with her alone. Han Fei was speechless. Stop. We don't know each other that well. Old Han? Am I old? I'm only 17 years old. Qing Qin immediately changed his words. Han Fei, what did you talk about with little Jiu just now? Was the blind date successful? What was little Jiu's reaction? Did she agree? All of a sudden, there were 100,000 whys. Han Fei was confused. What blind date? What blind date? I just wanted to visit her. Qing Qin chuckled. You don't know. Han Fei wondered, what should I know? Qing Qin grinned. Those who go to little Jiu's house are all blind dates. I heard that little Jiu cultivates the freedom technique. She is no different from ordinary people. So, little Jiu must find someone to cultivate with. Anyone who goes to little Jiu's house is a blind date. Especially those who have broken the array. TSK, it means that you have passed. What? Han Fei was shocked. I'm not F*King going on a blind date. I have a girlfriend. Qing Qin sneered. Your girlfriend didn't come back with you? Men, I know. This kind of thing can't be forced. But we can't hang ourselves on one tree, can we? Han Fei was speechless. I pursue the Great Way. Qing Chen continued, yes, everyone pursues the Great Way. Especially little Jiao, the freedom technique she cultivates is to pursue the Great Way. Only when she is at ease can she achieve the Great Way. Brother, you've made a fortune. Han Fei's face immediately turned black. What the hell? How can you continue like this? Han Fei shut up, no longer talking, and no longer responding, only listening to Qing Chen talking non-stop next to him. After a moment, Han Fei was relieved when he saw the yard of Wang Dashuai's house. Finally, he didn't have to listen to this guy's nagging. He hoped that the food could shut his mouth. Senior brother, Wang Dashuai hurriedly said, come in. In his own house, Han Fei certainly wouldn't use his perception. So, after entering the door, he saw a burly, huge, great. Forget it, Han Fei couldn't think of an adjective for a while. Anyway, his sister-in-law was about the same size as Wang Dashuai. As for her figure, she was a little slender, but her face was not bad. The latter turned her head and looked at him at this moment. But that glance made Han Fei feel a little guilty. Han Fei thought to himself, this sister-in-law is a bit fierce. Han Fei hurriedly bowed. Hello, sister-in-law. Sloppy King, why do you come to my house to freeload again? Qing Chen smiled slyly. Sister Lu, it's because your cooking is delicious. Compared with the dishes made by others, the difference is like the difference between clouds and mud. It's not appetizing at all. Anyway, it doesn't matter if there is one more person, hee. Humph. Han Fei saw that his sister-in-law immediately smiled and looked at Han Fei. Yo, is this little junior brother? He was very handsome. Come on, sit down. Have a taste of my cooking today. Hey. Han Fei wanted to cook for himself, but he swallowed the words when they reached his mouth. He was afraid that if he took her place, he would be slapped to the ground by her. The sister-in-law turned around and immediately shouted at Wang Dashuai, who was cutting vegetables. What are you waiting for? Little junior brother is here. Don't you know how to take out the wine? Wang Dashuai shivered, hurriedly threw away the vegetables in his hand, and smiled obsequiously at her. Bai Lu, give me some face. Han Fei thought, it turns out that this sister-in-law is called Bai Lu. Her surname is Bai? What face do you want? Look at your face. Do you still want face? Han Fei and Qing Chen, sitting on the chairs in front of the table, shivered at the same time when they were yelled at by Bai Lu. Han Fei looked at Qing Chen, speechless, and conveyed his doubts with his eyes. You are so cheeky. Why are you shivering? Qing Chen gave Han Fei a twinkling look as if to say, although I'm a freeloader, I'm also afraid. Han Fei sighed and gave him a reassuring look. I'm afraid too. After a while, to Han Fei's astonishment, Bai Lu carefully placed a large basin in front of Han Fei and said kindly, Little junior brother, have a taste. I know this is what the Thug Academy has just made. What's rice? Yes, it's rice. It's delicious. This basin is for you. Han Fei was dumbfounded. Don't do this. The rice in the Thug Academy is served in bowls. What do you mean by a basin bigger than a wash basin? Besides, where are the dishes? Duong. 4 large basins were placed on the table, and Qing Chen winked at him. Han Fei, this rice is delicious. It's so delicious. Come on, have a taste. Thanks to you, I can have a basin of it today. Usually, I can only have half a basin at most. Han Fei couldn't help but look at Qing Chen sympathetically. Poor kid. How can he be so happy when he only eats rice? It was like seeing a piece of braised pork. At this moment, Wang Dashuai also came out with 4 large jars of wine and smiled at Han Fei. Little junior brother, come on, drink. Han Fei was stunned. Rice with white wine. Damn, where are the dishes you just chose? Didn't you eat hot pot with us? Didn't you tell my sister-in-law? Han Fei gasped. I can't go on like this. He felt that Bai Lu was a hospitable person. Although she was a bit fierce, it was obviously not the first time that Qing Chen had come to freeload. Bai Lu's kindness showed that she was not a bad person. Han Fei took another breath and laughed. Senior brother, sister-in-law, thank you very much for your hard work this morning. Bai Lu smiled shyly. Not hard at all. Little junior brother, you can come more often in the future. Han Fei's blood froze. Is it a question of whether I can help you enough? It's a question of whether I can choke to death. In order not to choke to death, Han Fei hurriedly said, Sister-in-law, I was overseas a few days ago, right? I caught some exotic mutated creatures. They must taste pretty good. They must be delicious with your cooking. Wait a moment, I'll add another dish. Qing Chen's eyes lit up. Exotic mutant creatures? Good stuff. Hurry up and take them out. Bai Lu smiled embarrassedly. Sorry to trouble you, little junior brother. Han Fei hurriedly said, Not at all, not at all. This is what I should do as a junior brother. After a while, when the fish oil, garlic, chili, and other ingredients were added into the pot, when the fire flashed and the dishes were boiling in the pot, a strange fragrance floated from the pot. Bai Lu's eyes flickered, full of envy. Smack! Wang Dashui was slapped for no reason and looked at Bai Lu innocently. Bai Lu said angrily, Do you see how capable little junior brother is? Look at you, apart from eating and carrying doors, what else can you do? Wang Dashui. He looked at Qing Chen again, only to find that his saliva had already dripped on him. After a while, when the lobster hot pot was served, except for Han Fei and Wang Dashui, Bai Lu and Qing Chen were fascinated. Wang Dashui said to Han Fei via voice transmission, Junior brother, I'm so sorry. I tried my best to hide it from your sister-in-law and not let her know there was such a thing as hot pot. Otherwise, I would have to go out to catch fish every day. If I couldn't catch them, I would have to buy them. Han Fei. Suddenly, Han Fei seemed to find that he had done something wrong. He gave Wang Dashui a look, as if saying, Senior brother, you've suffered a lot. First update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 828. For a cultivator, not to mention one basin of rice, even if there were 10 or 100 basins, he would still be able to eat it. Han Fei had no choice but to swallow the bowl of rice. He swore that if there were no special circumstances, he would never come to his senior brother's house to eat again. This was simply asking for his life. As for Wang Dashui's future, Han Fei couldn't care less about this matter. He could only do as he saw fit. After Bai Lu finished a basin of rice, she looked at Han Fei with a smile. Junior brother, is little Jiu okay? You don't know this, but this time I went to find a matchmaker, Granny Een. The old lady looked at little Jiu as if she were looking at her granddaughter. It was also because he recognized your strength and talent that he allowed you to go. Otherwise, it will be hard for you to pass. Han Fei glanced at Wang Dashui in confusion, and the latter gave him a look as if to say, I don't know either. Han Fei couldn't help but smile bitterly. Sister-in-law, I already have a girlfriend, so I'm not suitable. Besides, I only pursue the great Tao. I don't have time. Bai Lu immediately patted the table and said, Yes, I know Xiaochan is good and beautiful, and you have a deep relationship. However, you have to look forward. There are some things that have already happened. Don't make things too difficult for yourself. Han Fei was speechless. What do you know? Xia Xiaochan is not dead. Besides, I really don't have time now. Old Han was locked on the 4th floor of the Scattered Stars prison, exuding the smell of secrets. In the demonic forest channel, there was a rattan waiting for him to get. The secret of the sea-quelling painting may be revealed soon. How can I have time for so many things? Han Fei nodded and suddenly said, Sister-in-law, well, I have to build a house in the afternoon. Tomorrow, I'm going to hold a banquet at home and treat everyone to dinner. All of you will come tomorrow. Well, I have to go now. Bai Lu smiled and said, Okay, go ahead. However, if you want to fish, just fish. Don't dive into the pool. The one down there has a bad temper. You'd better ask Granny Yin's Dahuang to go fishing with you. You can take care of her. Hey, sister-in-law, wait a minute. I have to go. Qing Chen also got up quickly. Wait for me. I'm bored, I'll go with you to build a house. Bai Lu shouted from behind, Marshal Wang, you go too. Aren't you going to help your junior brother? Go. Hey. After a while, the three of them flew to an empty space 1,000 meters away from the edge of the pond. This place was backed by a high mountain, and the Empyrean waterfall was right in front of him. The water pouring down from the waterfall crashed into the cliffs, covering this place with clouds and mist. Wang Dashui said, Junior brother, why did you choose this place? Wasn't it too close to the Empyrean waterfall? I think your sister-in-law is right. Not far from Little Nine's house, there was an empty piece of land. You can still plant some land and the mist isn't so thick. Qing Chen nodded quickly. Yes, near the waterfall. The mist is a bit thick and so is the sound. Han Fei thought to himself, I would rather die than live next to Juyin Ling's house. However, at this moment, his attention was attracted by the person below. He couldn't help but ask, who is that person below? Wang Dashui shook his head slightly and blinked at him, as if hinting at something. Han Fei glanced at Qing Chen. Was it because there were outsiders present that he couldn't say? Qing Chen chuckled and said, You'll know soon. If you have enough good things, you'll soon know. Han Fei was puzzled. What did he mean? What did this have to do with how many good things I had? But Han Fei didn't ask further. He just chuckled and said carelessly, It doesn't matter. I'm a spirit gatherer and an array master. I chose this place to set up the cloud mist array with the help of the mist here. Besides, this place is very suitable for setting up the 100-water mystic killing array. These arrays that are born with water can make the array grow endlessly. Qing Chen couldn't help tilting his head and glancing at Han Fei. You and Little Nine are really a good match. In this Empyrean waterfall, only the two of you set up a bunch of arrays at home. Look at other people, they can watch the stars and bask in the sun at home. Won't your array block the view of nature? Han Fei sneered. You don't know anything about arrays, do you? As soon as the array is set up, clouds and water will surround it. If I want to bask in the sun and watch the starry sky, it's only a matter of a thought. Do you think I soak in the water every day? Clang! Wang Dashui threw the big green door to the ground and chuckled. Okay. Little junior brother, if you want to stay here, just stay here. Let's go pull some trees and build a house first. At night, Wang Dashui went back to accompany his wife. Han Fei and Qing Chen squatted in front of the flowing water villa that had just been built among the rocks. Qing Chen sighed. Han Fei, your house is very beautiful. Han Fei chuckled and thought to himself, well, you don't understand. This is called the flowing water villa. On the second floor, there was even an open-air swimming pool. Although it was called a swimming pool, it was actually a killing array. In the afternoon, Wang Dashui carried hundreds of large bluestones over and piled them up into a small cliff. Han Fei guided a stream of water over and passed by his door, which was quite exquisite. He just needed to pull up a few more trees and go to Yui's house to get some flowers and grass. This was definitely the most luxurious building here at the Empyrean waterfall. Han Fei sat down on a chair. Don't you want to go home? Qing Chen chuckled. I didn't build a house. I can live here. Han Fei interrupted him. That won't do. I'm only used to living alone. I still need to cultivate. Qing Chen didn't care and chuckled again. Well, I helped you in the afternoon. Don't you want to thank me? Just the one at noon, the hot pot at noon. Make another meal? I found that you are the best cook in the Empyrean waterfall. Han Fei immediately understood why this guy refused to leave. It turned out that this was the reason why he refused to leave. He wanted to eat and drink at my place? Han Fei said leisurely, Actually, I don't cook very much. I just cook occasionally. Fine, I'll cook tonight. When you're done, go back quickly, I'm going to start cultivating. Okay. When Qing Chen also left, Han Fei waved his hand, and the entire flowing water villa was surrounded by clouds and mist. The reason why he chose this place was that it had the most abundant spiritual energy. Because of the great waterfall, if he made a breakthrough here, although the abnormality of spiritual energy would still be discovered, the abnormality would be greatly reduced. In the future, whether it was his own cultivation or a breakthrough, as long as it required a lot of spiritual energy, he should be able to get away with it. As for the guy below, I didn't provoke him. He can't climb up to find me, right? There are so many people here. I've been out for 2 days, and I finally have time to cultivate. Han Fei poured out 87 level 2 soul crystals. This was Lu Renquang. He had collected a lot of soul crystals during this period. Since he stabilized his soul in the demonic forest channel, because he had used up all the soul crystals, he hadn't cultivated his spiritual power. It took a long time to visualize the god-scaring painting. At this time, Han Fei casually grabbed a level 2 soul crystal and quickly refined it. 1 piece. 2 pieces. Han Fei's eyes flickered. When there were only 27 soul crystals left, his spiritual power reached 2,999 points, and his perception range reached 29,999 meters. He reached another bottleneck. Han Fei heaved a sigh of relief. This time, the growth of his spiritual power was more than he expected. This meant that when he was in the 72-floor ancient demon realm, the ownerless souls he absorbed did increase the power of his soul by about 50%. He looked at his personal information. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 49, peak level hanging Fisher, spiritual energy 532-2658-19908, spiritual power 2-999/2, 999, perception range greater than 29,999 meters, spiritual heritage, level 7, low quality spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish, level 45, main art divine manipulation technique, level 5 of void fishing, heaven level, divine quality. Han Fei looked calm. When he was on the 4th level of the Scattered Stars prison, his upper limit of spiritual energy increased rapidly and he was close to the bottleneck. He calculated with his fingers and had a hunch that he should be able to break through to the hidden Fisher realm in half a month. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. I must make good use of this opportunity. It was a qualitative leap from a hanging Fisher to a hidden Fisher. At that time, his spiritual power might make another breakthrough. Alas, I don't have enough soul crystals. Han Fei glanced at the 27 level 2 soul crystals he had left. Immediately, Han Fei thought of something. Now that he had 6 stars, the number of level 2 soul crystals he could exchange should be enough. Forget it, I'll go through the back door. Anyway, Shueishenqi seems to know something. It shouldn't be a problem for me to exchange for them openly. Yes. I have to seize the opportunity to enter the Soul Sea. I can't blindly eat anymore. I have to try to figure out the secrets of the Soul Sea, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and the others. It's too expensive to cultivate them with spirit awakening fluid. If I can rob an undersea chimney or dig into the transverse mountain. This idea flashed through his mind. Han Fei was shocked by himself. Wang Dashui was forbidden to go to sea because he robbed an undersea chimney. No way. Even if he became a hidden fisher, he would only be a junior hidden fisher. And there were many strong masters in the transverse mountain. He couldn't ruin his chance to go to sea because of this small profit. Okay. After I become a hidden fisher, I'll go to the Sea of Pearls. No. The Heaven Spirit detoxifying insect is only level 33 now, which is too low. Well, when I get back, I'll go to Yi Qingfeng's place more often and get some poison. Then I'll go to Chao Qiu and get some poison god. Having made all the plans, Han Fei couldn't help but lie down on the chair again. With a slight wave of his hand, the clouds in the array dispersed, revealing the shining starry sky. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes narrowed slightly. He sensed that someone glanced at him. The power of perception was very subtle. If it weren't for the surge of his spiritual power, he wouldn't even have felt it. Han Fei couldn't help but look sideways at the pool under the Empyrean waterfall. Who on earth is that? Second. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 829. Early the next morning, Han Fei went to visit the heavyweights in the inner circle. The nearest one was the home of the old poison, Yi Qingfeng. Han Fei stood at the door and knocked. Senior Yi, okay. Yi Qingfeng responded in a low voice, indicating that he got it. Han Fei smiled. Senior Yi, I'm holding a banquet in my house today. Would you do me the honor? I'm not bragging, but I'm quite good at cooking. Creak. The door opened, and Yi Qingfeng was holding a half-meter-long red centipede in his hand. He glanced at Han Fei lightly. I won't go to dinner. I only like to eat poison. Han Fei was speechless. What the hell? Someone likes to eat poison. Han Fei immediately said with a smile, well, in fact, I also like to eat poison. As long as I have enough materials, maybe I can prepare a poisonous meal for you. What do you think? Yi Qingfeng said leisurely, poisonous meal? Are you trying to trick me into eating poison? Han Fei was speechless. What are you talking about? Although I do have such an idea, please don't say it out loud. Before Han Fei explained, Yi Qingfeng sneered. Forget it. If you want to raise your heaven spirit detoxifying insect, you can come to my place for a cup of tea every day. Remember to come in the afternoon near dusk. At that time, the sky is dark and the toxins will evaporate. Han Fei immediately grinned. Thank you, Senior Yi. In that case, I'll take my leave. Han Fei walked happily to Granny Yin's house in a good mood. Yi Qingfeng's poison was very good. Yesterday, the heaven spirit detoxifying insect upgraded after drinking a cup of tea. Although the heaven spirit detoxifying insect itself might be upgraded soon, it would take time to raise it himself. If he drank poison at Yi Qingfeng's place every day, it wouldn't be a problem for the heaven spirit detoxifying insect to upgrade 2 or 3 levels in 10 days or half a month. While he was happy, he suddenly felt that something was wrong, as if something was looking at him. Following his perception, Han Fei froze and was dumbfounded. After a long pause, Han Fei rubbed his eyes and stared at the top of the wall of Granny Yin's house. That yellow, furry thing. Isn't that a F***king cat? F***ck. Han Fei hurriedly ran over, until he was about 10 meters away from the yellow cat. One man and one cat confronted each other. To Han Fei's shock, data appeared in his eyes. Name, soul-devouring spiritual cat, Yin Shui's contractual spiritual beast. Introduction, an extremely rare land creature that possesses a trace of the bloodline of the ancient ferocious beast, the soul-devouring cat. It is as swift as the wind and incomparably fast. Its pair of sharp blades can take away the soul. Anyone who is swept by its sharp claws will be in a daze for 3 days. Level 61 Equality. Legendary spiritual energy greater than 42,256 points. Food, all fish battle skill, soul-devouring Yaoart remarks, a cold and aloof creature. Strangers should not approach it. Han Fei sucked in a breath of cold air. God knows what he was thinking. He meowed at the cat. Poochie. Yi Qingfeng, who was a kilometer away, spat out a mouthful of tea and stared at Han Fei dumbfoundedly. Is this kid crazy? How dare he tease Big Huang? To Yi Qingfeng's surprise, the cat glanced at Han Fei contemptuously and said, Your meow is wrong. Han Fei blinked. That's right. This cat is a legendary creature. It's nothing special that it can talk. Han Fei immediately chuckled. I've read about cats in ancient books. I'm really curious. Are you Big Huang? Let's go fishing together when you're free. Suddenly, Big Huang's eyes lit up. It meowed and jumped to the ground, staring at Han Fei. Where did you read that book? Where else have you seen my fellows? Is that book still there? Han Fei immediately thought of something. I don't think so. In a secret realm called the Snow God's Temple, there used to be a lot of land creatures, including cats. Big Yellow meowed and asked, "Where's the secret realm?" Han Fei said with a smile, "The secret realm has been destroyed. You have to ask Xing Chaojie." After the secret realm collapsed, he explored it by force. Hearing that the secret realm was destroyed, Big Huang meowed in disappointment and walked to the pool with his head held high and his tail erect, while talking to himself, "I'm really a lonely cat." A few people were speechless. Can Han Fei just talk to anyone? You can even talk to Big Huang. Seeing that Big Huang was gone, Han Fei walked to the door of Granny Yin's courtyard and heard the old lady say, "Come in." Han Fei was about to speak when Granny Yin said, "I'm not going to have dinner with you. I'm too old to join in the fun with you young people. Just ask Xiaojie to come. She's stubborn and doesn't care about material things. You have to talk to her." Han Fei was speechless. "Talk to me? I have nothing to do with her." Granny Yin waved her hand and said, "Go ahead. Old Nangong likes crowds. You can ask him to come." As soon as Granny Yin said so, she heard Nangong Xian's voice. "I see, but I'm still in seclusion, so I won't go. Let's wait for next time." Seeing that no one went, Han Fei couldn't help feeling a little depressed. "That's because you don't know my cooking skills at all. Don't regret it in the future." When Han Fei came to the periphery and passed by Yui's house, Yi poked her head out and smiled at Han Fei, which made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. He finally knew why senior brother was beaten by his sister-in-law. Yui had a charm technique which was a bit similar to Xia Xiaochan's, but fortunately, he was used to it and didn't panic at all. Han Fei also responded with a smile, "Miss Yui, would you like to come to my house for lunch? I've prepared a banquet." Yui nodded. Okay. When you come back later, bring some flowers and plants back from me. By the way, ask Yushire to come. That silly guy will be too embarrassed to go to my house." Han Fei nodded slightly. "Okay." When passing by the big blue stone, Nameless glanced at Han Fei faintly. "I'll go if you enter my 300-meter sword domain." Han Fei scratched his head. "Do I have to fight for a meal?" As they talked, Ning Jingyao, the knife cultivator who always liked to lie on the roof and look at the sky, said with a smile, "Yes, I'll go in and kill him." Seeing that many people were looking at him, Han Fei was a little helpless. Do these people like to join in the fun so much? Han Fei thought for a while and decided to go in and see how strong the people on this side of the Empyrean waterfall were. At least, Han Fei knew that if he walked into this 300-meter sword domain, his relationship with Nameless would be further improved. Han Fei grinned. "Then I'm coming." Nameless nodded and suppressed his strength to that of a peak-level hanging fisher. With that, Han Fei stepped into Nameless' 300-meter sword domain without hesitation. Swish! 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 In an instant, the sky was full of sword shadows, and Han Fei felt that every part of his body was being stared at. At that moment, Han Fei felt at least 1,000 sword shadows. Han Fei stepped slightly, and the coiled turtle array and the spirit gathering array appeared at the same time. At the same time, instead of using a knife, he stretched out his hand and punched out a golden fist mark. The invincible fist mark rushed out 200 meters and was shattered by the sword shadows that circled around it. Sensing the boundless sword intent, Han Fei became slightly solemn. This man's sword was so strong that it was comparable to the third move of Sun Mu's Immortal's slaying array. With a thought, Han Fei didn't use the sacrificing punch, but took out an ultra-quality spiritual long knife. Swish! The knife shone like an upside-down galaxy, and Ning Jingyao's eyes glowed as he watched on the roof. Good knife. Clang, clang, clang. With a draw technique, the sword shadows along the way were all shattered, and he was still moving forward after traveling 280 meters. When he was only 1 meter away from Nameless, with a swish, Nameless drew his sword and put it back. What a fast sword! Han Fei's draw technique was destroyed by the sword, and the sword chi swept at Han Fei at an incredible speed. Han Fei's eyes narrowed and he didn't hold back anymore, but he didn't use the Overlord's technique either. He stabbed the knife into the ground, and with a boom, a crimson fist mark blasted out. Facing the sacrificial punch, Wu Ming's eyes widened. He held the hilt of his sword with one hand, and the scabbard flashed with spiritual light. It flashed 6 times before Wu Ming pulled out his sword. All the sword shadows in the surroundings seemed to gather and fuse into his sword. Hum. The fist print and the sword chi were fighting, neither giving way to the other. Faintly, Wu Ming's eyes narrowed. His own sword chi was being pushed back by this punch. Although it was not much, he knew very well what it meant. Han Fei was also shocked. Now that the sacrificing punch's spiritual energy had almost doubled, it didn't directly blast Wu Ming away but was blocked by Wu Ming's sword. Crack. During the collision, the sacrificing punch and the sword chi dissipated at the same time. The whole sword domain returned to peace, and Nameless immediately changed his momentum and returned to the level of a hidden fissure. At this moment, he looked at Han Fei and nodded slightly. "I'll go over at noon. Don't be surprised. You're in my sword domain, or I would have been defeated by that blow." Han Fei couldn't help but look at the 300-meter sword domain. Could this sword domain allow Nameless sword to resist his sacrificing punch? Han Fei secretly took a breath. The Empyrean waterfall deserved its reputation. Any random person here was so strong. But Han Fei immediately put on a smile again and said, "Ha, then I'll be waiting for you." 3rd. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 830. When Han Fei walked into the 300 sword domain, Wu Ming suppressed his strength to that of a peak-level hanging fisher. But even so, many people looked at Han Fei in a different light. Although the people at the Empyrean waterfall were all weirdos, strength mattered most in this world. The residents at the Empyrean waterfall were all thrown here because they had committed crimes. However, in terms of strength, countless people on the Scattered Stars Island would mention the Empyrean waterfall from time to time. Ordinary people couldn't even get in unless they were looking for someone. Ning Jingyao glanced at Han Fei and said, "Han Fei, let's have a fight when we have time. Your attack just now was very powerful." Han Fei chuckled and said, "Actually, I only know one attack." Ning Jingyao waved his hand slightly. "One attack is enough. How about it? How about we fight on my roof?" Han Fei shook his head. "No." At this time, Han Fei was very weak. He launched the sacrificing punch, and all his energy poured out. "Again? Am I not going to live any more?" As he spoke, Han Fei took out an energy spiritual fruit and took a bite. The rich fragrance wafted. After the fruit was swallowed by Han Fei, Ning Jingyao said sulkily, "Fine, just eat it. You don't have to call them one by one." Ning Jingyao roared, "If you want to go, go. If you don't want to go, don't go. Don't let them come to your house one by one. They all know voice transmission. It's not worth it." Someone said, Someone laughed and said, "All right, go ahead. I haven't eaten for a long time." Someone laughed. "Let's eat. We have nothing to do." Someone grinned and said, "In order to see Little Nine, I have to go too." Someone laughed and scolded, "What are you looking at? Little Nine is Han Fei's girlfriend now." "Pooh." Han Fei staggered. "Are you kidding me? Does it have anything to do with me?" Han Fei hurriedly shouted, "Well? Don't talk nonsense. The relationship between us is pure and innocent. We are neighbors, pure neighbors." Someone sneered. "Han Fei, don't take it for granted. You are the first to enter Little Nine's yard." Someone echoed, "That's right. Young man, you should cherish the opportunity." Han Fei ignored them and went straight to Yushire's house. Yushire, the guy who squatted at the door to eat, had just walked into the 300-meter sword zone, and this guy squatted on the side of the road with a bowl in his hand, looking at him. At this moment, seeing Han Fei coming over, he chuckled. Han Fei was lost for words. Who smiled at you? This guy was really stupid. Han Fei smiled. What are you eating? Would you like to come to my house for lunch? Yushire nodded with a smile and then said, Do you want to drink fish soup? I'll get you a bowl. Han Fei thought for a moment. Since he hadn't had breakfast this morning, he nodded. Okay. This time, it was Yushire who was surprised. However, he quickly got up, smiled, and put the bowl on the stone by the door, and immediately ran into the house. After a while, a bowl of fish was carried out. Yushire said with embarrassment, I don't know how to make it. It may not be very delicious. Don't mind me. He took the bowl and the chopsticks and sat down on a rock. I don't mind. Because he had nothing to say, Han Fei slurped up the fish soup in a few mouthfuls. Then he glanced at Yushire and said with a smile, You should go to Miss Yu's place to ask for some flowers and plants. Yushire blushed a little and said with embarrassment, That's not very good. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. Something is wrong. Yui reminded him to call Yushire. Yushire would blush when he heard Yui's name. Could it be? Both of them were interested in that? Han Fei smiled slightly. Okay, thank you for the fish soup. I'm going back to prepare lunch. It was Han Fei's habit to treat people to lunch. He felt that when he came to a new place, he could tell whether a person was good or bad just by having a meal. Besides, at the very beginning, he showed some respect to them. In the future, if they met, it would be easy to talk to them. Even if they didn't deal with each other, he could know them early. Most importantly, he wanted to see how these people would be intoxicated by his fancy cooking. In terms of strength and realm, there might be many people here who were not weaker than him. But in terms of cooking, he had to show that no one in this world was better than him. As soon as Han Fei came back, he saw Qing Chen was already wandering in front of his door. Han Fei paused. Wait, why are you here? Qing Chen chuckled. I'm here for lunch. I'm a little early. It doesn't matter. Han Fei glanced at him and found that he was dirty again. Immediately, he stretched out his hand and a water ball appeared. Okay, how about I teach you how to cook? Qing Chen immediately shook his head. No. Just eat other people's food. How troublesome is it for me to cook by myself? Han Fei was speechless. Don't you find it troublesome to eat and drink for free? Han Fei waved his hand and the big array disappeared. He said lightly, Okay, just help me get some tables and chairs. This is simple. I'll be responsible for cooking. Just as Han Fei took out a lot of ultra-quality materials and was about to refine some big pots, he saw a floating figure slowly walking towards his home. Han Fei was surprised. Juin Ling? So early? Didn't she refuse to eat? Qing Chen waved his paw. Beauty here. Han Fei glanced at Qing Chen in disdain. This guy is too unreliable. He's almost as good as Zhang Xuanyu. At this moment, Han Fei discovered that Juin Ling's weapon was actually a writing brush, which was hung on her waist. It was the same as Chao Jiaren's flute. Coming to Han Fei's yard, Juin Ling bowed slightly to Han Fei and then said, May I come in? Han Fei glanced at Qing Chen. Look at how polite he is. Han Fei said lazily, Come in. Today, I'm holding a banquet at the Empyrean waterfall. Everyone who comes is a guest. Juin Ling tapped her feet slightly and floated into Han Fei's yard. Juin Ling looked at Han Fei deeply. Thank you for the array you drew yesterday. I've already had an epiphany. Han Fei asked in surprise, You had an epiphany just like that? Juin Ling nodded slightly. Yes, I never thought that arrays could be drawn in this way. As long as I seal them with spiritual power, I can even make them into talismans. I owe you a big favor. Han Fei was speechless. This woman's comprehension ability is really high. Is this the reason why she could cultivate to the level of a peak-level hidden fisher so quickly? Han Fei waved his hand. No problem. We'll talk about the favor later. But I'm just about to cook. Would you like to sit here first? Juin Ling was about to say something, when Han Fei suddenly took out a lobster more than 30 meters long. Immediately, he retracted his words and said softly, "Can I borrow your table for a moment?" Han Fei nodded. "Of course, you can use it." So, Han Fei and Qing Chen saw Juyin Ling run to the bluestone table in front of the door and draw. Qing Chen ran over, bumped into Han Fei, and said telepathically, "Not bad, brother. You're making progress so fast." Han Fei said angrily, "Where's your table maker? Go back and forth. Just cut down a big tree and you can make a lot of tables and chairs." Han Fei threw out 5 or 6 creatures at once. Qing Chen exclaimed from time to time, "Exotic creatures, all exotic creatures. Are people so particular about food nowadays?" Han Fei sneered. "What do you know? Eating is also a great Tao. There are 3,000 great Taos, but they all lead to the same destination." Juyin Ling was also a little surprised. "Isn't this guy a little too extravagant?" Throwing out these ingredients, Han Fei activated the spiritual fire transformation. After a while, 5 big pots and a bunch of delicate dishes, plates, and bowls were refined by him. Suddenly, Han Fei saw a yellow shadow suddenly appear in his yard, standing on the head of a big fish. Seeing Big Yellow, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. "Are you staying here for lunch?" Big Yellow looked at Han Fei with bright eyes. "Can't I eat now?" Han Fei was stunned for a moment. "You want to eat now? That's fine. Then I'll pick a smaller one for." Before Han Fei finished speaking, Big Yellow's body suddenly expanded and turned into a cat monster, nearly 7 or 8 meters tall and nearly 20 meters long. Under Han Fei's speechless gaze, this bastard cat actually took away a starry sea flying fish that Han Fei wanted to use as an ingredient. After a while, not far from Han Fei's yard, there was the sound of snorting and chewing. Oh, a cat is indeed a cat. Han Fei was deboning and removing impurities. One after another, people came over. The first to come were Wang Dashui and Bai Lu. Bai Lu wanted to come over and help. However, when she saw that Han Fei's ingredients were piled up like a mountain, she immediately gave up this idea and turned around to run to Juyin Ling. Bai Lu said with a smile, "Yo! Xiao Jiu, you're here so early?" Then, the two of them fell silent and seemed to be talking to each other via voice transmission. Seeing that he couldn't help, Wang Dashui carried the big green door, stood at the door, and began to greet the guests. After a while, more and more people came. Wu Ming arrived with a sword. Ning Jingyao even complained that Han Fei used a good knife to cut vegetables. Yui brought a lot of flowers and plants over. Without Han Fei asking her, she began to help Han Fei plant the flowers and plants. When Yu Shire came, he squatted beside Han Fei's huge kitchen and studied. Someone couldn't help but say, "Han Fei, we have so many people here. Are you going to give us sashimi?" Someone rolled his eyes. "Does sashimi need a pot?" At this time, there was no complete creature in front of Han Fei. They had all turned into pieces of meat. Hearing these people's jokes, he chuckled. "Don't panic, everyone. The show has just begun." 4th. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 831. This time, a total of 82 people came, not counting those who hadn't come yet. Liquor and juice were placed on the table, and Han Fei smiled slyly. "Since you've eaten my dishes, you'll owe me a favor. You'll have to pay me back in the future." Swish, 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 swish. 5 giant pots were lined up and the fish oil was sizzling. Han Fei didn't open the pot, but with a thought, lobster, squid, ice fish, bloody clam, and a cluster of wisteria white vanilla began to fuse. "Damn, Han Fei, are you cooking or refining?" Someone was quite curious. "This cooking technique is unheard of." Yes, this time, Han Fei changed his original cooking technique. He cut the 4 exotic creatures and the wisteria white vanilla he got from the demonic forest channel into pieces, fused them with the refining technique, and embellished them with the fragrance of the wisteria white vanilla. In a moment, 5 10-meter-long meat dragons with 2 horns on their heads and 4 limbs appeared in the air. "Wow! Someone was dumbfounded. Is this cooking? Yushire, who had been standing next to him, was completely dumbfounded at this moment. This cooking technique is extraordinary. Juin Ling looked at the 5 meat dragons hanging in the air curiously. Is this what Han Fei meant by eating? Not only are the ingredients high-end, but the cooking technique is also so unique. Han Fei put on a smile, and 5 clouds of spiritual energy immediately enveloped the 5 flood dragons. Clatter! With a snap of Han Fei's fingers, 5 balls of spiritual energy flames were ignited at the dragon claws with a sizzling sound, quickly rising, and the flames wrapped into a ball. When Han Fei saw that the meat was tender and white, he grabbed with one hand, and the 5 pot lids were pulled away. Hot fish oil flew out, and new fish oil was poured into the pot. The golden fish oil was poured down from the 5 meat dragons. Under Han Fei's control, it completely stuck to the meat dragons. In an instant, golden light flickered here, dazzling everyone. At some point, Big Yellow was already squatting on the wall of Han Fei's house, his eyes wide open, and saliva dripping from the corners of his mouth. Because Han Fei used wisteria white vanilla, when the fish oil was poured on them, everyone's mind became much clearer. At the same time, dozens of gazes landed on this place. A figure rushed over and stood beside Big Yellow in an instant. It was a little girl with 2 playful braids. She was dressed in a variety of colors. At this moment, it was looking curiously at the meat dragon that was gradually being dyed golden in the air. Han Fei enveloped the 5 meat dragons with spiritual energy. At the same time, more than 20 kinds of seasonings were poured into the oil pan in batches. Rip! The fragrance suddenly soared into the sky. All the diners who smelled it changed their expressions and swallowed their saliva. Qing Chen was the closest to Yushire, so he couldn't help but wipe his mouth with his sleeve. But at this moment, he didn't dare to disturb Han Fei, so he could only look at the sky, the pot, and Han Fei. Many people's faces were filled with fear and they held their breaths. Bai Lu opened her mouth wide, looked at Han Fei in surprise and murmured, "Little junior brother is so amazing." Yui was stunned for a moment. She looked at the meat dragon in midair and thought, wouldn't it be more beautiful if I added the fragrance of petals? Juin Ling also forgot to draw. At this juncture, she really couldn't help but look. It was the first time she had seen someone cook in such a strange way. Nangong Xian said he wouldn't come, but at this moment, he was already standing at the door of Han Fei's house. Yi Qingfeng was speechless. At this moment, he was holding a teacup and standing beside Yushire. Granny Een was also speechless. At some point, she had also sat on Big Yellow's back. A bright smile appeared on Han Fei's face. He sniffed twice and knew that the seasonings were almost ready. As he drew several arrays with his hands, clouds and mist floated over and wrapped the 5 meat dragons. Seeing this scene, Juin Ling couldn't help but stand up. Is this an array? Cooking can also be related to arrays? Yui was also taken aback. Arrays? Clatter! As Han Fei snapped his fingers, flames shone in the clouds and mist, dyeing the clouds crimson. The flames lasted for about 2 minutes. The clouds and mist suddenly became cold, turned into frost, and then dissipated in an instant. Swish! In an instant, golden light flickered, and the red glow golden bead was suspended in the air. Within 100 meters, it was all of vast pale gold color. The golden dragon flew and rushed to the dining table. When the dragon soared, the clouds and mist condensed into frost, covering the dragon's body. Only then did the golden color faintly disappear, and the gold and blue colors merged. Han Fei roared again, and the fragrant sauce in the pot, controlled by Han Fei, flew up the dragon's body like 5 huge water snakes and poured down. At this second, as many as 153 people came to watch, and all of them were shocked. Someone sighed and said, "It's a marvelous skill, a marvelous skill." Someone swallowed. "I've never seen anyone cook like this in my life. It's too amazing." Someone was drooling, staring at the floating smoke, and said in amazement, "Didn't the cloud mist array dissipate?" Why are there clouds and mist floating on the table? Han Fei chuckled and said lightly, I burned it with spiritual fire twice. The meat dragons are tender on the inside and crispy on the outside, but still hot on the outside. At this time, frost crystals fell, and the cold and hot met, naturally causing smoke to evaporate. Then, with the sauce, I covered the outer layer and wrapped the frost in the middle, so that the smoke wouldn't evaporate in an instant and naturally formed clouds and mist. Han Fei waved his hand. Everyone, you can start now. You're welcome to have a taste. The bowls and chopsticks are all on the table. Meow. Wait a minute. Suddenly, Granny Een yelled, and everyone couldn't help but stop. Everyone complained in their hearts, Old lady, you can't do this. Big Yellow's mouth is so big. Can eat a whole dragon by itself. Meow. Granny Een patted Big Yellow's head. Why are you panicking? You just need to have a taste of it. Give the first serving to Little Nine. Suddenly, the crowd fell silent. Han Fei paused, thinking that he was hallucinating. That's not good, is it? Joeen Ling also held the brush in panic, lowered her head, and blushed. She was very nervous. Granny Een said to Han Fei via voice transmission, Give the first serving to Little Nine and help her. She cultivates the freedom technique, and she's only one step away from becoming a law enforcer. In an instant, many people looked thoughtful and roughly understood what Granny Een was thinking. In the entire Empyrean waterfall, no one had become a law enforcer. And now, Little Nine, the only one who cultivated the fastest and had the highest talent, felt uncomfortable because of the freedom technique. Therefore, there was a critical step that she couldn't take for the time being. Bai Lu also said via voice transmission, Little junior brother, you may indeed need your help. So far, a total of 37 people have come to help Little Nine become a law enforcer. As a result, none of those B***stards can enter Little Nine's yard. No matter what your purpose is, help her. Yi Qingfeng also said via voice transmission, Han Fei, help Little Nine become a law enforcer and help your heaven spirit detoxifying insect reach level 40. Han Fei trembled. These people are going all out for Joeen Ling. Han Fei smiled and said, That's how it should be. Without blushing, Han Fei strode to the table, picked up a large piece of meat with his chopsticks, and walked to Joeen Ling. When Han Fei walked up to Joeen Ling, he could even hear her erratic breathing and thumping heart. Han Fei smiled faintly. Come on, have a taste. Joeen Ling blushed and raised her head slightly. Seeing the smile on Han Fei's lips, she immediately lowered her head. Seeing that Joeen Ling's knuckles were clenched so tightly that they were even turning blue, Han Fei immediately said, Let go of your stubbornness and be at ease. Hurry up and eat. Don't dawdle. Let go of my stubbornness and be at ease? Joeen Ling was slightly shocked. After a moment of silence, she suddenly raised her head and looked at Han Fei. This time, Han Fei clearly felt that the girl in front of him seemed to have changed. Suddenly, Joeen Ling looked straight at Han Fei as if she had made a major decision. She smiled, took the plate, picked up a piece of meat, and put it into her mouth. Gotcha! As soon as she took a bite, the surrounding spiritual energy surged over in an instant. Han Fei hurriedly stepped back, and someone protected the meat dragons on the table with a solemn expression. Granny Een murmured, It's done, it's done. At that moment, the spiritual clouds were like a storm, and the entire Empyrean waterfall was surging with spiritual energy. Between heaven and earth, black colors were vaguely soaring. In a moment, in the twisted jungle, someone scanned this place from the sky. Deep in the transverse mountain, someone soared into the sky. In the central city, someone raised his head and said in surprise, Has someone become a law enforcer at the Empyrean waterfall? In Shui or Nangong Xian. This was the first time that Han Fei had seen someone become a law enforcer. Apart from the spiritual energy storm, there seemed to be other changes in the weather. Solemnly, Han Fei calculated with his fingers, but he didn't sense anything. Immediately, Han Fei took a deep breath. Law enforcer? What law? What does the title of law enforcer mean? Suddenly, Han Fei felt that he seemed to have missed something. Looking at the void again, there was a strange power flashing, and a power that he was not familiar with was being poured into Zhou Ling's body. The power of laws? Next to Han Fei, Wang Dashui said to him via voice transmission, "Little junior brother, pay attention. Breaking the law enforcer and holding a wisp of the laws of heaven and earth is the meaning of law enforcer." Han Fei looked at Wang Dashui in a daze. "What do you mean?" Wang Dashui said, "Law enforcers will master a wisp of laws, which will give you an extraordinary power. That's why it's called law enforcer. Little junior brother, you've made a great contribution this time." Fifth update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 832. Mystic light flashed, and spiritual energy hung upside down like a long river. This breakthrough lasted for half an hour before it gradually dissipated. At this moment, there were more than 500 people around the Empyrean waterfall. Where did those people come from? Han Fei's banquet hadn't started yet. After waiting for so long, Zhou Ling's clothes fluttered, and she suddenly opened her eyes. Above the sky, 100-meter-long word fell from the sky. Han Fei couldn't help but look up, only to see the word seal. The moment this big word fell, many people felt that the spiritual energy in their bodies was blocked, and their souls seemed to be oppressed by some kind of power. Old man Nangong Xian exclaimed in shock, "You've grasped a seal? That's strange. It seems to be able to seal the flow of spiritual energy and suppress the soul from leaving the body. It's a very domineering word." Hearing this, Han Fei couldn't help but try to perceive it. However, he was shocked to find that his perception was useless. He tried to mobilize the spiritual energy in his body again. Fortunately, it could still flow, but the efficiency was directly reduced by half. Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. Although he could still defeat peak-level hanging fishers with a 50% discount, he was only equivalent to an ordinary peak-level hanging fisher, right? Is this the power of law enforcers? This time, many other people who came to Han Fei's house were also shocked. Their reaction was almost the same as Han Fei's. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder, law enforcers, what does it mean to be an explorer? At this time, Zhou Ling gently stretched out a hand and twisted her palm. The word suddenly disappeared, and everyone's power returned again. Zhou Ling took a deep look at Han Fei and bowed to thank him. "I owe you another big favor," Granny Yin said with a smile. "Little Jiu, congratulations. I knew it would work. It's a pity that the previous 37 were useless. You've been delayed until now." Yi Qingfeng laughed. "Not bad, not bad. Very strong laws. No wonder you're little Jiu." Bai Lu interjected, "In my opinion, our junior brother is still the best." Wang Dashui immediately echoed, "Yes, yes, our junior brother is also very strong. Congratulations on becoming a law enforcer." Someone expressed his friendliness to Zhou Ling. Someone came from afar and laughed. "Zhou Ling, I knew it. There's no reason that the fastest cultivating genius on the Scattered Stars Island can't become a law enforcer." Someone from Central City said, "Congratulations on becoming a law enforcer. Little Nine, remember to make a trip to Central City after you stabilize your strength." A group of people came to congratulate him. Granny Yin said angrily, "Let's go. Can't you see that we are having a dinner inside the Empyrean waterfall? What are you doing here?" Immediately, a group of people shouted, "Yes, yes, yes. That's right. Why are there more than 500 people all of a sudden?" Meow. Granny Yin's face changed slightly. "Big Yellow, go grab it." Seeing that Zhou Ling's breakthrough was over, Granny Yin couldn't wait to see her cat. Why would he care about anything else? Big Yellow pounced on it at once. Qing Chen dragged Yushire and said, "Hurry up, take the opportunity to grab a dragon head. Let's split it in half." Someone exclaimed, "Don't touch my dragon." Someone was surprised. "F***ck, you bastards, leave some for me." The little girl with 2 braids appeared next to Han Fei with a swoosh, holding a plate with a large piece of meat on it. While stuffing the meat into her mouth, she looked at Han Fei curiously. "You are the weirdest person I have ever seen. A dish actually helped you become a law enforcer. Can you also cook for me in the future?" Han Fei looked at the girl with a dumbfounded expression. He had never seen her before. But according to her appearance, she should be Li Luoluo, the demon girl. The little girl smiled fiercely. "That's a deal. If you help me become a law enforcer, I will help you kill 100 guys who you don't like." Han Fei. With that, the little girl ran to Juyin Ling and grabbed her arm. "Little Nine, how is it? How is it? How strong are the law enforcers? Are you still able to write the word seal? Let me see." Juyin Ling glanced at Han Fei and then looked at Li Luoluo. "In fact, the seal is not absolute suppression. I can only control a wisp of the rules of this seal. If I become an explorer, I'm afraid I can seal a place." Han Fei was amazed. "Seal a place? Does it mean that one person can seal a large area? She's really strong." However, at the same time, Han Fei realized that Juyin Ling's cultivation speed was too fast, wasn't it? This was only the 2nd day since he came to the Empyrean waterfall. A law enforcer? She was a whole major realm higher than him, and 2 minor realms higher. This made Han Fei a little speechless. "Am I not a genius?" Han Fei smiled bitterly. Sure enough, there were still geniuses. He was really a frog in a well. Bam! With a loud bang, a figure was thrown out of the courtyard by someone. Then, someone flew up. Before Han Fei had time to eat the 5 big dragons, they had been swept away. Someone grabbed a dragon's foot and ran away. Someone grabbed a dragon's tail and ran away. Someone grabbed a dragon's head, and someone grabbed a large piece of meat. They were all hidden fishers, and they were too ruthless. They flew all over the sky, all kinds of big wings flapping. Looking at the empty table, Han Fei was lost for words. Have these people never eaten anything? They're all animals. Of all the people here, only Granny Een and the others didn't fight for the food. Big Yellow, a cat, was biting and pouncing on a dragon's head. Han Fei hurriedly shouted, fearing that the people who had gathered here would all run away. Han Fei shouted with a smile, "Thank you for coming today. After I become a hidden fisher in a few days, I'd like to have a competition with you. I hope you won't refuse." Someone smiled and said, "That's fine. Just come." Wu Ming said casually, "I'm looking forward to it." Ning Jingyao said, "You've been on the Scattered Stars Island for a year and a half, haven't you? You're only a hidden fisher now? That's too slow. However, you're welcome to test your skills with me." Someone smiled and said, "Anytime. However, I think you'd better make the breakthrough in the Wind Sky Canyon. Catch a suitable Wind Sky wing in 3 days and absorb their wings first." Someone echoed, "That's right. Don't delay it. It's best to catch them when you just become a hidden fisher. The sooner, the better." The Wind Sky Canyon? Wind Sky Wings? Han Fei was stunned to hear that. That's right. Hidden fishers could fly, but their wings didn't grow naturally but came from fish. Was this fish called Wind Sky Wings? It sounded like he was quite powerful. In any case, Han Fei had achieved his purpose. He felt that his combat skills needed to be improved after he became a hidden fisher. By then, he would have to find someone to test them on. Those people were outstanding even if they weren't hidden fishers. Only by sparring with them could he know what kind of combat skills were most suitable for him. Seeing that everybody left, Juyin Ling came close to Han Fei. "I'm going back to stabilize my realm. I'll come to you in a few days." Han Fei waved his hand and said, go back, consolidate your realm." Han Fei thought to himself, "Why are you coming to me in a few days? These 2 huge favors couldn't be repaid so easily." A moment later, when almost everybody was gone, Bai Lu said with a smile, "Junior brother, do you want me to clean up for you? These people were just like that. They were used to being lazy." They're all loafers who run away after eating. Han Fei instantly smiled. No, no, senior brother, sister-in-law, you can go back now. I'll clean up myself and prepare to cultivate. Bai Lu grinned, that's fine. However, junior brother, you really shouldn't make a breakthrough here. When you're ready, you'd better find someone to go to the Wind Sky Canyon with you. Make a breakthrough there and catch a good Wind Sky Wing. Han Fei asked in surprise, there are good and bad Wind Sky Wings? Bai Lu said with a smile, of course there are regular, rare, bizarre, mutated, and even legendary. There are many kinds of Wind Sky Wings, and they vary according to the size of their wings. Someone will explain them to you when you get there. You'd better choose carefully and don't act rashly. Han Fei nodded solemnly. In that case, he did have to choose carefully. He was quite curious that there were so many kinds of fish. A moment later, Han Fei's flowing water villa was empty. Suddenly, Han Fei sensed that someone was staring at him. He looked back, only to find that Big Yellow was still licking his lips next to his swimming pool. Han Fei was amused. You still want to eat? Big Yellow's eyes widened as if full of curiosity. Do you have more? Looking at the messy room, Han Fei smiled bitterly. Yes, I haven't had any either. Let's eat together. Hearing that there was more, Big Yellow immediately meowed and ran to Han Fei. He stood firmly on the stone platform where Joeen Ling was painting, waiting for the meal to be served. A moment later, Han Fei made himself a hot pot. One man and one cat sat next to the pot. Seeing that the cat was digging, Han Fei said, wash your feet, wash your feet. Big Yellow glanced at Han Fei in disdain. My claws are made of spiritual energy. They're not dirty. Han Fei chuckled and picked up a piece of lobster meat, putting it on his plate. Then he said unhurriedly, Big Yellow, do you know the guy at the bottom of the pool? Is he strong? Big Yellow glanced at Han Fei. You mean the big turtle? The turtle doesn't move. It's not scary at all. Han Fei was stunned. It's a turtle down there? Big Yellow didn't seem to hear Han Fei at all. Its attention was on the pot. What Han Fei said, it missed all of it. Only Han Fei slightly frowned. Why is there a big turtle down there? I thought it was a person. 6th update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 833. Han Fei was still curious about the Empyrean waterfall. On the other hand, the old tortoise, who was feared by both the enforcers and the explorers, must have cultivated for many years. When the rock-holding turtle appeared, it gave him the god-scaring painting and the embroidery needle. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder if this tortoise also had good stuff. At least, according to Big Yellow, this turtle wasn't scary. Han Fei thought, if even a cat isn't scary, then I don't have to be scared, right? With this in mind, Han Fei felt that starting from tomorrow, he could go fishing in the lake first. At night, Han Fei poured a lot of ultra-quality materials from Forge the Universe, even materials that were even better than the ultra-quality ones. In the demonic forest channel, Han Fei didn't give all the materials to Lu Renquang. At least, he didn't give the ultra-quality materials from Yu Hanjia's shop. After all, at this moment, Han Fei lacked weapons. Frostmourne couldn't be used easily. The embroidery needle didn't recognize its master. The cosmic sword didn't dare to let it recognize its master, although it could. And the harpoon was specially used by the sea demons. Now, Han Fei only had the golden seal and the infinity water. The infinity water was not a weapon. Han Fei felt that he could use this drop of water in combination with the million knife art. In the past, his realm was low and his array skills were poor, so he often used the infinity water. But the effect was not as good as he imagined, mainly because the attack power was not enough, or maybe because he didn't know how to use it. After all, it was a precious treasure, and it couldn't only be used as a knife and shape-shifting. The day before yesterday, Han Fei used the river as a knife outside the club in such a high-profile way. In addition to showing his array skills, it was actually so that when he used the infinity water in the future, he would have a good reason to do so. The purpose was also to tell others that he was very talented in turning water into a knife. Of course, in addition to these, the blood-drinking knife had to be refined again, and the fishing rod also needed a better one. After all, he would have to refine the void lines in a while. Among the large pile of materials, Han Fei's first choice was naturally the bone of the mystifying dragon and the 9 dragon veins he got from old Han. The void lines weren't refined through refining methods. Instead, they were refined through one's own soul fire. This meant that every time he refined a void line, he would be refining a bit of his soul fire. When the soul fire and the fishing line fused, the void could be created. At this moment, Han Fei's face was ferocious, and 3 small balls of soul fire floated out. Then, the soul fire was attached to the dragon tendon. Through the technique of the divine manipulation technique, Han Fei's face was slightly twisted, as if something was added to his mind. Soul thread? Yes, Han Fei felt that the fishing line was no longer a line but a weird soul line. As long as he willed it, these lines could be attached to the fishing rod in the blink of an eye. What surprised Han Fei even more was that the soul threads could be split. In truth, he didn't need to refine 3 dragon tendons at once. He only needed to refine one, and he would be able to split his soul thread into several dozen. Han Fei was about to cry out that he had suffered a great loss, but then he found a problem. When one thread is split into multiple threads, its strength and maneuverability seem to have been reduced. So that's how it is. With my current strength, one thread can be divided into 3 void lines at most, and the control is just right. So, Han Fei smiled. The 3 void lines could now be effectively divided into 9, which was quite easy to control. Han Fei tried to use his fingers as a fishing rod and control the pile of materials on the ground with the void lines. Although it couldn't be completely smooth, it was not a problem at all in terms of control. What an amazing technique! However, 3 is enough for now, or my soul will be weakened. I have to make a fishing rod with a line to confuse others. With a thought, the demon purification pot appeared. 5 or 6 kinds of semi-divine weapon materials, a dragon tendon, and a dragon tooth were sucked into it. After a moment, more than 800,000 points of spiritual energy were consumed, and a blue and white fishing rod floated out of the water. Name Dragon Sting Rod. Introduction. It's made of the bones, tendons, teeth, and iron essence of the mystifying dragon. The rod and line are one. When not fishing, the dragon sting can be used as a dragon sting whip. Quality semi-divine weapon. Remarks. If you can attach the soul of an exotic mutant creature or above, there is a certain chance that it will become a low-quality divine weapon. After getting this whip, Han Fei couldn't help but grin. In this way, he actually had 2 kinds of fishing lines now. One was a normal fishing line, which could be used for fishing normally, and the other was a void line, which could be controlled at will. Except for these 2 things. After another while, a sharp kitchen knife, a silver-white rod, and 3 spikes made of 1,000-year demon stings were placed in front of Han Fei. Seeing these 3 things, Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. He had been wondering if he could also refine the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bow into a semi-divine weapon. But Han Fei was surprised to find that the materials were not enough. That's right. Materials above ultra quality are too rare. I'd better wait for a chance in the future and change them into divine weapons. At this point, all the weapons were ready. Except for the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bow, the semi-divine weapons he had were the blood-drinking knife, the dragon sting fishing rod, the golden seal, the golden battlesuit, the demon-slaying spike, and the silver rod. Among them, the demon-slaying spike was a hidden weapon, used for sneak attacks, and would only be used when things went south. After this, Han Fei was going to find 2 powerful rod combat skills and seal combat skills. Finally, he would find a combat skill that was most suitable for him through these people at the Empyrean waterfall. In the end, Han Fei intended to focus on the art of invincibility and the most suitable combat skill, and the others would be auxiliary. At this moment, Han Fei had already planned the route of becoming a hidden fisher and was waiting to become a hidden fisher. The next morning, Han Fei's yard was clean again. Han Fei made himself a bowl of shrimp porridge and dispersed the mist with a wave of his hand. As a result, Han Fei immediately saw a man and a cat squatting in the corner of the yard, staring at each other. Qing Chen? Big Yellow? Meow. Qing Chen chuckled. Brother, are you eating? Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Were these two shameless guys waiting for him to come to his house for dinner? Han Fei said helplessly, Qing Chen, that's too much. Do you want to come to my house to eat every day in the future? Qing Chen said lazily, of course not. Brother, if you need any help in the future, just come to me. Han Fei waved his hand helplessly. Since you're here, come on in. Big Yellow, I'll make a basin for you. Meow. A cat was a cat after all. Although it could talk, it was hard to change its nature to meow. The shrimp porridge Han Fei made was not much, and it was soon eaten up. Han Fei carried the dragon sting fishing rod and said, Okay, I've finished eating. I'm going fishing. Big Yellow, are you coming? Meow. Yes. Han Fei looked at Qing Chen, who patted his belly and said, I'm not going. I'm leaving. Oh. Han Fei quickly stopped him. No, I don't cook at noon. Qing Chen stared at Han Fei. I'll come back at night. A moment later, the man and the cat came to the edge of the Empyrean waterfall. Han Fei was still speechless. He couldn't help but ask, Big Yellow, Qing Chen is always mysterious. What does he do? Squatting on a rock, Big Yellow looked up at the Empyrean waterfall. He's climbing a mountain. Han Fei followed Big Yellow's gaze and asked in shock, Climbing this? Big Yellow nodded. Yes. In the beginning, they would often be washed down, but later on, they would not. He climbed to the top to hone his body. Han Fei was even more surprised. Qing Chen is a body practitioner? Big Yellow meowed. It squatted sideways on a rock and swung its tail, which quickly became like a fishing line and began to droop. Han Fei couldn't help but be amused. What an amazing cat! It's fishing with its tail. However, Han Fei sensed slightly, only to discover that the cat's tail that fell into the water had changed at some point. Strands of yellow hair drooped down, looking no different from the fishing line. Big Yellow meowed at Han Fei. Don't sense it. You've scared the fish away. You'd better not sense it yourself. The fish here are very, very smart. Very smart. Han Fei smiled and didn't talk to Big Yellow anymore. He seemed to have thrown out the fishing rod, but the fishing line was not hidden at all. It was just a disguise. Because he didn't sense it, Big Yellow didn't know how Han Fei did it. That made it easier for Han Fei to use the void lines. When the void lines dived into the water, Han Fei found that his spiritual power could still perceive the area within 100 meters through the void lines. Soon, Han Fei found some red, half-meter-long fish in the pool that looked like butterfly wings, floating vertically in the water. Huh? This fish is rather rare. It must be a kind of butterfly fish, right? Han Fei slowly extended the void lines to the nearest butterfly fish. There was no telling if it was alarmed, but the butterfly fish shivered and suddenly sank almost 10 meters. Then, its round eyes seemed to be wary of something. Seeing that, Han Fei subconsciously stopped controlling the void lines. About 10 seconds later, the butterfly fish was still standing vertically, as if it were swallowing something. Han Fei was slightly intrigued. It was indeed very vigilant. It could even vaguely detect the void lines. This time, Han Fei retracted some of his spiritual power. His senses became blurred, and he couldn't see the butterfly fish clearly anymore. However, it didn't stop him from extending the void lines to the butterfly fish again. This time, the butterfly fish didn't have any special reaction. It rolled its eyes and seemed slightly confused. Then, it continued swallowing as if nothing had happened. The 9 void lines landed around the butterfly fish at a very slow speed. When Han Fei tried to catch the butterfly fish with one of the void lines, it suddenly shivered and tried to escape. Han Fei hurried to take action. At the same time, 3 void lines caught the fish's tail, head, and one of its fins and wings. What a smart fish! Seeing that the butterfly fish was caught, Han Fei hurried to catch the other parts of the butterfly fish with the other 6 void lines. When the 9 void lines caught the butterfly fish, Han Fei sensed something, and his vision became blurred. About 10 seconds later, Han Fei found that he had an extra vision, which was the vision of a fish. The vision was quite strange. The range of his vision was at least 270 degrees, if not 360 degrees. Everything that appeared in front of him was changing shape. However, that wasn't the key. Han Fei was appalled at this moment. "Hiss!" he gasped. It turned out that the void lines could not only catch its soul but also deprive its body and will. Once the creature that was caught was completely locked and couldn't escape, he would be able to dominate its soul. What an awesome divine manipulation technique! Han Fei's face changed. If that was the case, wouldn't he be able to have multiple clones? All the creatures that were hooked were turned into puppets. What a terrifying hook technique it was! The 7th chapter. Asking for votes. First of all, it's either a woman or the female lead. Let's reply in unison. The characters are designed out of necessity. There might be some romance, but the female lead isn't. Also, my computer is infected. Everybody in the group knows that the antivirus can steal my personal information, sabotage the system, and establish a connection for hackers to take control. I was so scared that I had to back up and change the antivirus software. Okay, asking for monthly votes. Yesterday's 4th chapter. Today's 7th chapter. Waiting for the 5th chapter on March 1st. Asking for monthly votes. There are so many updates. Also, the exciting plot is yet to come. Soon end of this chapter. Chapter 834. Voila! A splash was raised on the surface of the water, but it was incomparable to the waves raised by the waterfall. Han Fei saw that a butterfly fish that was caught by the long hair on Big Yellow's tail was hooked to him. Big Yellow sat down on a rock lazily, completely disregarding the red spikes on the surface of the butterfly fish's body. Countless small holes appeared on the butterfly fish's body, and it was clear that it had been killed by Big Yellow. Information popped up in Han Fei's eyes. Name: red blood butterfly fish. Introduction: this is a butterfly fish that lives in waterfalls at the bottom of the sea. It likes to swim against tides and can absorb the power of nature. When it's in danger, 36 red thorns will burst out of its body, which can penetrate into the enemy's body and explode. The butterfly wings can be separated from its body and turned into clones for easy escape. Level 48 quality, rare spiritual energy greater than 2,864 points. Effect: it can significantly improve your physique if it's eaten over a long period of time. Collectible butterfly wings, absorbable. Note: the butterfly wing clones have no combat ability at all. When Han Fei saw the information, he was intrigued. Could the butterfly wings turn people into clones? Voila! Big Yellow began to eat the fish after it was caught. It seemed that in its world, a cat could eat all the time, especially fish. Although it was not as delicious as Han Fei's cooking, it didn't taste bad for a cat. Seeing that Han Fei had caught a red blood butterfly fish too, Big Yellow was stunned. Big Yellow paused and stared at Han Fei with his eyes wide open. Big Yellow asked, "You caught one so quickly?" Han Fei was amused. "What are you talking about? Can't I catch one?" "Meow!" Big Yellow cried. "They came to fish, but none of them caught any. Only this cat is talented enough to catch them." Han Fei asked, "None of them caught any?" Big Yellow nodded. "Yes. The red blood butterfly fish are very smart. You can't catch them unless they come to you on their own. I caught them with my cat Aura." "What did you catch them with?" Han Fei was stunned for a long time. Then he said casually, "I used combat energy." Big Yellow tilted its head and looked at Han Fei, wondering what combat energy was. Han Fei chuckled. I was just bragging. He couldn't say that he had hooked the soul of the red-blood butterfly fish, could he? If that's the case, once Goldie goes back and announces it, I won't have any secrets to speak of. Han Fei cut off 2 butterfly wings casually and threw the butterfly fish to Big Yellow. You can have it. I won't eat it. Big Yellow slapped the red-blood butterfly fish to its feet with its claws and meowed. Okay, I don't mind too many. But what do you need wings for? The wings don't taste good, there's no meat. Han Fei chuckled. The wings are beautiful. Big Yellow looked at Han Fei as if he were an idiot. Can good-looking make a living? He really couldn't understand humans. Following that, Big Yellow pressed the 2 fishes with its paws and continued to devour them. It ate slowly, as if eating was a form of enjoyment for it. If he ate too fast, the enjoyment would be too short. Ignoring Big Yellow, Han Fei grabbed the 2 butterfly wings and tried to use his spiritual power. The butterfly wings in his hand disappeared, and a phantom of Han Fei appeared beside him. However, this phantom was too vague and looked fake. Big Yellow raised its head again. It's fake. It will be gone after 10 seconds at most. My phantom can only last 10 seconds. As it spoke, a phantom of Big Yellow appeared next to Big Yellow. The illusory Big Yellow and Big Yellow meowed at each other for dozens of breaths. Sure enough, the phantom Big Yellow was gone. Big Yellow meowed and said, if only it could be maintained forever. In that case, I would have a cat to play with. Han Fei sweated. What I was thinking of was a clone. You were thinking of summoning a clone to play with you? You were thinking of summoning a clone to play with you? He reckoned that this cat was too lonely. Of course, Han Fei's idea of summoning a clone was out of the question. The wings of the place were useless. They didn't even need to distinguish them when they fought enemies. Fine, let's keep fishing. A moment later, Han Fei controlled a new red-blood butterfly fish. This time, he released the void lines the moment he got the red-blood butterfly fish's vision after he controlled them. After the void lines were released, about half a second later, the red-blood butterfly fish seemed to be alive. It immediately flew away with its wings and turned into 2 new red-blood butterfly fish. Han Fei glanced at them, only to find that they were much more real than the clones that he and Big Yellow transformed into. When Han Fei tried to control the red-blood butterfly fish again, he found that the one he controlled had turned into a clone. The real red-blood butterfly fish had turned into one of the clones. Han Fei didn't chase it. This proved at least one thing. Once the control of the void lines was stopped, the other party's consciousness would quickly return, and they would immediately realize the danger and try to escape. Han Fei wasn't disappointed. If the other party was controlled by the void lines and turned into a puppet forever, it would be too horrifying. In that case, the divine manipulation technique would be truly invincible. How could it not be horrifying when he could have countless clones with real identities? However, one clone was enough. Han Fei guessed that if he used the void lines to control a human being or a half-mermaid, it would be even more significant. Thinking for a moment, Han Fei decided to try it on a half-mermaid or an inferior manfish after he became a hidden fisher and got the wind sky wings. When Han Fei controlled another red-blood butterfly fish, he wondered how far the void lines could be controlled. However, when he thought of the distance, Han Fei wondered if he could control the red-blood butterfly fish to check the old turtle at the bottom of the lake. Han Fei wondered if he could control the red-blood butterfly fish to check the old turtle at the bottom of the lake. Even if he could simply withdraw the void lines. With a smile, Han Fei controlled the red-blood butterfly fish to dive to the bottom of the lake. However, the depth of the lake was beyond Han Fei's imagination. He dove for more than 20 kilometers, but he still hadn't reached the bottom. Han Fei found that there were fewer and fewer red-blood butterfly fish nearby. On the wall of the lake, there were some sea cucumbers and starfish. Among them, there were yellow-blooded sea cucumbers and even a trivariant golden ginseng. However, apart from those creatures, there were only some red-blood butterfly fish and a few fluorescent shrimp. However, there wasn't even a single large and powerful creature to be seen. Han Fei decided to collect the trivariant golden ginseng after the exploration. It was hard to find such a treasure in the coastal waters. He didn't expect to run into one at the bottom of the Empyrean waterfall. Han Fei dove for another 20 kilometers. At this moment, he discovered something to his surprise. There were very few creatures nearby. If he hadn't seen a red-blood butterfly fish swimming up from the bottom of the lake, he wouldn't have dared to go down. 50 kilometers. 60 kilometers. Han Fei didn't find the bottom until he was 60 kilometers below the lake. Han Fei couldn't help but be surprised. It meant that the lake was 30,000 meters deep. This height was deeper than any place that Han Fei had ever known. Even the Mariana Trench that he once knew was only a little more than 10,000 meters deep. What did it mean that this place was 30,000 meters deep? Then, Han Fei discovered that the bottom of the lake was connected to the underground current. He was about to control the red-blood butterfly fish to check it out, when a terrifying suction force suddenly came over. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei was sucked 5 or 6 kilometers away uncontrollably. Han Fei observed with his mind, only to find that it was an old turtle that was covered in ancient rocks. This old turtle was extremely huge. Its shell was covered in rocks and had a range of 100 meters. Han Fei had never seen a sky-swallowing turtle as big as this one. Unfortunately, through the vision of the red-blood butterfly fish, Han Fei couldn't see the specific information of this old turtle at all. However, in any case, it was very strong. The old turtle's eyes, which were bigger than a wok, slowly blinked. Then, Han Fei heard an old voice say, "Human kid, are you here to spy on me?" Han Fei controlled the red-blood butterfly fish, and seemed to be at a loss. He was considering whether or not he should cut off the void lines and run away. Then the old turtle said, "Not bad. You came to this place with the help of the red-blood butterfly fish. Do you know that your soul will be damaged if I swallow it?" Sitting below the Empyrean waterfall, Han Fei's face was slightly stiff. This old turtle was truly extraordinary. At that moment, Han Fei cut off the void lines, and his soul that was attached to the void lines immediately returned. The old turtle said, "Don't run, human kid. Come down. You seem to be a bit special." Han Fei instantly chuckled. "Do you think I'll believe you? I won't go down even if you beat me to death." Hardly had Han Fei retracted his soul when he saw Big Yellow staring at him. Then, he looked at the bottom of the lake and asked in confusion, "Did you go to the big turtle?" Then, Big Yellow continued eating the fish unconcernedly. "No problem. The big turtle can't move and can't eat us." Han Fei heaved a sigh of relief. No wonder. It turns out that he can't move. However, the big turtle's voice echoed in Han Fei's head again. "Human kid, there seems to be demonic chi hidden in your body." "No. It's a power that's more advanced than demonic chi." Han Fei's perception range was exactly 30,000 meters. He replied, "Senior, sorry for disturbing you just now. However, I'm just a normal person." The big turtle was silent for a while. "Your perception can reach the bottom of the lake? But you're still a hanging fisher." Han Fei's body slightly froze. "Damn it, I've been exposed." But the big turtle didn't care at all. "Human, can you get demonic chi? If you can, I can give you some benefits." First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 835. Han Fei was going to leave. He had almost grasped the void lines. He only needed to test it on a half-mermaid or an inferior manfish to find out how well he could control the divine manipulation technique. For example, could he control the demonic aura in his opponent's body? Would he be able to use his opponent's strength? Would he be able to obtain the other party's knowledge? The red-blood butterfly fish were not easy to achieve. He had forgotten to use the cloning ability of the red-blood butterfly fish. However, he did not plan to experiment for the time being. It was only his first day of fishing, and he was already caught by the old turtle at the bottom of the pond. However, when Han Fei was about to get up and leave, the old turtle's words made him sit down again. He couldn't help but ask, "Senior, what do you mean?" Hearing that there were benefits, Han Fei was no longer anxious. Anyway, Big Yellow said that the old turtle couldn't be moved. Could it be that it could kill him through his divine soul? That was also unrealistic. He had never heard of anyone dying at the Empyrean waterfall before. The big turtle said unhurriedly, "Don't you human beings all like spirit awakening fluid? I have spirit awakening fluid. If you have demonic chi, I can trade with you." Han Fei was stunned for a moment. "Wait, Senior, why are you so sure that I have demonic chi? I'm a human." The big turtle replied slowly, "For the cultivation of marine creatures, spiritual energy or demonic energy is fine. Spiritual chi could also be transformed into demonic chi, but the speed was not fast. Or, if you can provide power beyond spiritual chi and demonic chi, that's fine too." Han Fei was silent for a while. If he turned into a sea demon, his spiritual energy and demonic energy would be converted quite fast. As for the power above the two powers mentioned by the big turtle, he really didn't have it. Han Fei chuckled. "Senior, I think you've misunderstood me. I really don't have demonic chi or stronger power. If you need spiritual chi, I can set up a spiritual chi gathering formation for you so that you have an endless supply of spiritual chi." The big turtle paused and didn't mention the demonic chi again. Instead, it said, "There's a spirit awakening spring under me. Since you don't need it, then forget it. However, don't come here through the red blood butterfly fish again." Han Fei secretly gasped. The mouth of the spirit awakening spring? Didn't it mean that there was an infinite amount of spirit awakening fluid under the Empyrean waterfall? Han Fei glanced at Big Yellow and said casually, "Big Yellow, I'm going to Senior Ye's house. Take your time fishing." Meow. A cat was a cold animal. It didn't care whether Han Fei was there or not and whether he talked to it or not. It just remembered that Han Fei said he was going to cook at night, so it could go to him at night. Yi Qingfeng's home. Although this old poison told Han Fei before that he was going to push the Heaven Spirit detoxifying insect to level 40, he didn't expect that the Heaven Spirit detoxifying insect would be so powerful. But if he only came over for a cup of tea every afternoon, it would take at least a few months to achieve this goal. So Han Fei said with a smile, "Senior Yi, you have some poisonous grasses or poisonous fruits with high toxicity. Can I dig some?" Yi Qingfeng was feeding 2 centipedes in front of a cage. Hearing Han Fei's question, he said leisurely, "If the Heaven Spirit detoxifying insect is fed with the same poison, it will gradually develop resistance. How about this, you come here. You put your hand into the cage and let my centipedes bite you." Han Fei's face instantly turned green. "Let these disgusting, leggy things bite me?" Han Fei took a breath. A poison cultivator was simply too terrifying. If Old Poison's house exploded one day, the entire Empyrean waterfall would be covered by poisons. The Scattered Stars city must have considered this, so they threw Yi Qingfeng to the Empyrean waterfall. Curling his lips, Han Fei walked over, looked at a colorful centipede, and a crimson centipede, and swallowed. "I'm just going to stick my hand in like this? Senior Yi, I think you can let them spit out some poison, and I can drink it with tea." Yi Qingfeng sneered. "What do you know? Some poisons will have subtle changes when mixed with tea poison. But it's not as simple as biting them. Come on, put your hand in." Han Fei reluctantly put his hand in. Then, he saw 2 big centipedes entwined around his hands, which made Han Fei a little hesitant. A moment later, Han Fei felt a faint stinging pain in his hand, but the 2 centipedes didn't seem to be able to bite through his skin. Yi Qingfeng was also speechless and quickly said, "Take your hand out. Take your hand out. Cut a wound on yourself. Don't break my centipede teeth." Han Fei was amused. This was the first time that he had cut a wound and let a highly poisonous thing bite him. Other people would think that he was a psycho if they saw him like this. However, a moment later, when dark green and bright red fine stripes appeared under his skin, Han Fei knew that these two poisons were very terrifying. Han Fei felt that his entire arm had gone numb, and the heaven spirit detoxifying insect in his dantian moved immediately. It hooked its little claws and began to eat. The poison stripes that spread out on his arm were decreasing at a visible speed. After sitting in Yi Qingfeng's house for half an hour, Han Fei finally recovered. Yi Qingfeng was feeding poisonous grasses to other poisonous insects. Seeing that Han Fei had recovered, he asked leisurely, "You haven't leveled up yet?" Han Fei shook his head slightly. "Not yet." Yi Qingfeng sighed. "This is the heaven spirit detoxifying insect. However, you can't feed it anymore today. I'm afraid that it might die. You can come for a drink tomorrow and feed it some other poisons. Then you'll definitely be able to level up." "Okay." In the evening, after dinner, Han Fei drove Qing Chen and Big Yellow away and looked at the Empyrean waterfall leisurely. Spirit awakening fluid was extremely rare. She didn't know how long Granny Een had been raising cat. It should be more than 100 years. She was only level 61. Did he have to spend 100 years raising Shrimp Retian and the other pets? Han Fei immediately shook his head. When everything was silent, Han Fei cast a breath-concealing array and a concealment array on himself, sneaked out of the door, and came to the edge of the Empyrean waterfall alone. This time, Han Fei directly spoke telepathically, "Senior, although I don't have demonic chi, I have some demonic stones. I have mid-quality, high-quality, and ultra-quality ones. Most of them are mid-quality, followed by high-quality, and the fewest are ultra-quality. Do you think I can exchange them for this?" The big turtle said unhurriedly, "You've come after all. Demonic stones are fine too. However, mid-quality demonic stones can only be exchanged for half a kilogram, high-quality for 5 kilograms, and ultra-quality for 30 kilograms. Can you accept that?" Han Fei slightly frowned. So little? He didn't think demonic stones were useful before. However, he had dug a lot of them in the Sea Demon Mountain. However, he didn't get 1,000 in total, because he dug them right below the spring of demonic beasts. He didn't get any low-quality ones. He got about 100 mid-quality ones, 600 high-quality ones, and 200 ultra-quality ones. Even if he exchanged all of them, he wouldn't get 10,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid. After level 40, 10,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid wouldn't be much for the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. Han Fei thought of something. "Senior, I only have 100 mid-quality ones, 300 high-quality ones, and 100 ultra-quality ones. How about 5,000 kilograms first? You know that it's not easy for human beings to get those things." After a brief silence, the big turtle said, "Okay." Han Fei was slightly delighted. He hooked a sea-swallowing seashell on the dragon's sting fishing rod and cast the hook down. A moment later, he pulled up the fishing rod, looked at the 5,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid in the sea-swallowing seashell, and stored it in Forge the Universe. Han Fei asked, "Do you want anything else? I can't get demonic chi at all. Maybe what you've sensed from me is the aura of the demonic stones." The big turtle said unhurriedly, "If you can get a life stone, one can be exchanged for 500 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid. If you can get a phoenix spirit ginseng, one can be exchanged for 5,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid. If you can get a Butian ginseng, one can be exchanged for 50,000 kilograms of spirit awakening fluid." Han Fei was slightly intrigued. Was this big turtle trying to make a breakthrough? He had heard of the phoenix spirit ginseng before. It was said that it was much more nutritious than the trivariant golden ginseng. As for the Butian ginseng, he had never heard of it before. As for exchanging demonic chi for spirit awakening fluid, Han Fei would never do that. If it was leaked, he would be held accountable. Even old Han wouldn't be able to help him. After all, he was still locked on the 4th floor of the Scattered Stars prison. A moment later, at home, Han Fei opened the array and summoned the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, Little Gold and Little Fatty. Han Fei drained the water in the swimming pool and channeled 5,000 kilograms of spirit-awakening fluid into it, plus the 3,000 kilograms in the sea-swallowing seashell that Lu Renquan gave him. There were 8,000 kilograms in total. Han Fei said, "There are only 8,000 kilograms in total. You can split it evenly." Thump, thump, thump. The 3 contractual spiritual beasts rushed into the pool. A moment later, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp made a breakthrough, but Little Gold and Little Fatty didn't. Wow. Damn it. Han Fei almost burst into tears. 8,000 kilograms of spirit-awakening fluid had been drunk, but only the 9-tailed mantis shrimp made a breakthrough. Are you kidding me? Han Fei was amused. How poor they were. It had been more than 5 months since their last breakthrough, almost half a year. Han Fei could almost predict that even if he exchanged all the remaining demonic stones with the big turtle, it would be great if Little Gold and Little Fatty could advance. Alas! Han Fei recalled the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and Little Gold, and looked at Little Fatty. Do you have any ways to grow quickly? It's so difficult for me to raise you now. Little Fatty was still cold, but seeing Han Fei's sigh, it couldn't help but say slowly, "If I can come out often and live in the sea all year round, I can grow much faster." Han Fei was slightly tempted, but then he heaved a sigh. There were many problems. The coastal waters were all occupied by human beings. It was impossible to raise them. Otherwise, if the 3 legendary creatures were discovered, the consequences would be hard to predict. Once an expert attacked them, they would be doomed. Han Fei shook his head. No, is there any other way? Little Fatty thought for a long time. Swallow creatures of the same kind. Han Fei's face turned green. Are you a legendary creature? How can I let you swallow creatures of the same kind? I'll definitely take them myself. Even if I don't, I'll seal their souls for them, okay? Han Fei suddenly said, "What about exotic and rare creatures? Is it helpful?" Little Fatty waved its tentacles. "It's useful, but you have to eat a lot." Han Fei immediately said, "I'll feed you 3 every day." Second update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter.